I've been searching for you here for so long, so long. I've been searching for you here for so long, so long.
And what is happening, everybody? It's your boy Blake, Money Blake Weather. Welcome to another episode, Unfiltered Bachelor. I am your Unfiltered Bachelor, Blake, Money Blake Weather. How you doing on this beautiful March 1st, bro?
Time flies.
I felt like it was just yesterday. It was the new year.
I saw a meme today. It was like January. It felt like 3 months, and then February it felt like 1 week. And like, yeah, that's kind of how it is.
For sure. Yeah, it totally felt that. I'm like, where the fuck did I? Usually, I'm not one of those guys like, where'd the year go? But like this year, I'm like, where the fuck did the year go, man?
We're getting old, my dude.
Oh man! If you guys can't already tell, I do have a guest today. It is my main man, my buddy, my boy, your favorite. Follow him on Instagram too. At the end of all this, because he's always got interesting shit. My boy Tyler. Tyler, how's it going, man?
It's going good. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. Let's cheers. Let's
get this party started.
Laptop wants to give me attitude.
Maybe this beer will take care of some of my nerves.
So you never done a podcast before, huh?
Never, ever.
Okay, well, this is gonna be nice and hey, I'll make this real gentle. I'll be gentle with you.
Be sweet to me, my dude.
My guy. So a lot of people are like, "Why you just bring on your boy Tyler?" I always have different people on, and I like some of the conversations that we had when we're out and about, like on Fridays, and we're drinking and we're happy houring with the other people and stuff like that. So this all really started though. A lot of people, even at work, I don't think they know I do a dating podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so this all started, we were all out at Handlebar a few weeks ago, maybe like a month ago. See, again.
Time flies.
Time flies. I think it was probably January, but it feels like it was like yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so we were all out. And then I don't know how it got brought up, but we all start, hey, show me mine. I show you yours when it comes to dating profiles, man. And we looked at, we saw each other's Hinge and each other's Bumble. And that's when I started like hearing like your stories and like dating and like this and like that. And I thought this was like one of the most fascinating things because like I'm in that position too, bro. You're an unfiltered bachelor. I'm unfiltered bachelor.
Yeah.
And I think navigating in this time when it's like dating apps, first of all.
Well, I mean, like,
it's a thing. Like, it's a thing.
It's a thing, but like, I think we've talked about this. Like, you have invested in like the process,
right?
Like, you're like, all right, there's an algorithm. There's like a necessary like function of participation. Whereas like, I downloaded those like post the breakup and kind of like haphazardly filled out,
information. Yeah,
but I can't honestly say I give a fuck.
Okay. Yeah,
like it doesn't feel real to me.
I mean, even when it is real, it doesn't feel like, even when I've gone on first dates, and I'm sure you get the same way. It's like, I literally met a stranger on an app and now we're meeting.
Yeah. No, I mean, it doesn't feel like real life. And like, I don't even look at a majority of like, I feel like whatever, I get a notification from it. I'm like, I don't care. Really, but it was funny to get your feedback because you're like, dude, your profile fucking sucks, which it does. So
yeah, it does. It does, and it doesn't. Right? Like, I always hear dating sucks, and I think we've all gone through that I've at least gone through dating fatigue, where I'm just like, I'm not dating. Like, I don't want to date right now, but I've also put myself in it, bro. Like, gone on 30 first dates, like within a year and some months, like year and 4 months, we'll call it.
Glutton for punishment, my dude.
Bro. And that's not like, and again, it's like, it's spread out, but also some of those, like, I've gone on weeks where I've had 4 dates, different girls. It's exhausting.
I just got anxiety.
He's like, if you didn't have girl drama from dating apps, I would have no drama, basically.
So 30 first dates. What percentage of those would you say were like first date from hell, shitty, awful? Like...
So I've never had like a bad first date. The worst first date I've ever had was more like the conversation went about an hour too long than it needed to, like, and it was just a weird, like, we would end the convo and then
did like she drive or something and you couldn't leave, or like...
No, we just tried to make the conversation go longer than it needed to. This is how you know when it's a good conversational flow.
Yeah.
It'll just keep going. It'll keep threading naturally. You'll pick one thing out of the conversation, out of whatever, and then thread it to the next thing.
For sure.
It seemed like it was a little struggle city for both of us to try and find keep threading the conversation together. It felt like when one ended, and it was just like, well, all right, nah. So how about that weather, huh? You know, right. Tough crowd. Yeah. So let's give a little bit more thread there. But yeah, I think that's the worst. First day, I've never had this person burped or farted in front of me, or this was a weird thing. I've never had one of those things. And it might be. I might have the best luck in the world. Maybe.
No.
I don't know, or it could be. And I like to think it was this. And I was actually talking with my cousin about this because he was telling me he's gotten catfished more than once.
Multiple times.
Yeah, more than once. And I was like, bro, it happens once, okay. It happens twice. It's like,
you're doing something.
Yeah, what? And then more than 2 times, what the fuck are you doing to keep attracting this? And it was almost like, and his whole deal was, I just think it's, he gets attention and then he's like, oh, yeah, let's definitely meet up, but without putting putting people through a filter process or you work in marketing, so you kind of understand the same, a funnel process. You meet somebody at the top. Is my product meant for their needs? Yeah. Type thing, right? That's how a marketing funnel would work to get to sales. You know what I mean?
My technical capacity is actually sales, but it's the same thing. There's a disqualification process,
right? Qualification process
that should happen at the front. Are you the right size company? Do your goals align with what we actually do as a company? Because if all of those things aren't true, well, then there's no point in having a second conversation.
Did you just describe dating?
I did.
That's literally what it is.
I did. But here's something.
Okay.
I think that, I think it's funny, as we get older, I think what those questions are, for yourself personally. What you need answered.
Or if you started off with 2 or 3 questions when you're younger, by the time you're a little bit older, I'd say how old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay, I'm 31. So our age. Yeah. I was going to say our age, but I'm like, wait, is he my age again? But by the time you get to our age, you started your journey with 2 or 3 questions. Yeah. We now have 20. You need to hit all these qualification questions. You know what I mean? Type thing.
I think when I was younger, honestly, I don't think I had much outside of if I was attracted to that person,
right.
That was.
Did I hit that check mark? That's all we
done,
need.
My one question: am I attracted to you? And somewhere behind
is you
that,
hot? Yes.
Yeah, somewhere behind that, it was is she intelligent? You know, those were maybe my 2 questions. But now. At 30 and after having gone through a breakup, being with someone for 6 years, living with someone, etc. If I were to actually, which I'm not in this place right now, if I were to actually want to have a serious, committed relationship with someone, we're talking a much more in-depth, vetting process.
Yes.
At this point. I'm are you in a bad mood when you come home from work every day?
Right. And can I handle it if you are?
Handle that. I don't know. There are several more questions that have been added to my vetting process at this point, if I ever get back into actually dating.
Yeah, and I love that word, vetting process, because that's kind of what I was explaining to my cousin. I'm like, what are your qualifications for going on a date? What do you know about these women? Could they stab you? Have you told somebody where you are? Because if you getting catfished easily, you could get kidnapped probably.
My man seems to have a pattern. So there's definitely something wrong with him at this point. Sorry if you're listening, my dude.
It's not, and it's him, yes, but more if we point it out, it's his vetting process.
Yeah,
it's his qualification. What do you how are you qualifying your leads?
Sales. This is going to be the most good. There are going to be a bunch of women listening and just oh my god, these guys are out.
No, women. No, fuck that. Women do the same.
So much worse about it.
I'm not going to say worse or better, or whatever. But they do for sure do it. They do for sure do it. Yeah, it might even be on they might even vet even a little bit harder or a little bit like more stringent or even upfront more so than guys?
I think upfront is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
I think men are like, most of us are pretty stupid.
We'll wait a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll wait a little bit. We'll go on a date or two. Okay, well maybe let me see. You know what I mean? Okay, she's obviously hot, right? So and then you think about like it's probably for women they probably do it like first date, and it even gets worse like when and like you talked about going through a 6-year relationship when you meet a woman who's been married and like they're divorced and like they're like our age but they've already gone through divorce.
Yeah.
They had no kids or not like, or even if they do have kids, like, you know what I mean? Like, and then it starts to be like even more upfront and they're like even less of like, I have this much time to waste, which is 0.
Which is understandable.
Totally get it.
I whether like male, female, they, them, like I feel like at that point it's completely justified for you to like have a longer vetting process that's like kind of binary. It's like cut and dry.
Yeah. Yeah.
I completely understand that. So,
and that's, I think that's what, to kind of circle back to, that's what I was telling him, about being catfished and stuff like that. I was like, bro, you need to quit. And so it goes back to, I was saying that that's a bad representation of how to qualify people if you keep getting catfished. In my sense, I think I haven't gone on like a particularly bad first date. One, it's maybe good luck, but also I feel like I have a pretty decent read on people and a decent qualifying and vetting just meeting people up front.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like just meeting them through the app and then texting them, you can kind of get, I feel like I can kind of get a feel like I'm like, okay, yeah, for sure. I think we'll vibe. And most of the 29 out of 30 times I'd say I'm right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's interesting to me because I feel like in texting or whatever else, like I do not represent myself well as far as like who I actually am. I feel like I'm a little hesitant. I like just play it safe.
Really? Bit. So what do you mean safe? Let's
like, I mean, like my background, like my background's relatively non-traditional as far as like, like I bartended for 10 years. Like, I've been there, done that, like kind of like I can get down and get dirty if I need to.
Okay.
But it's like you meet a girl on Hinge and then it's like, what's like available to talk about? Like should I lead
totally
with,
get it.
Like,
okay.
Should I lead with like a crazy question, that's kind of like party driven, or should I like ask some soft and sensitive? Like majority of the time I just don't know. And so I'm like, what do you like to do? Like, fuck it. Like, if I met someone like out at a bar or like through my group of friends, like you have a better idea of who like I am just as a person. And I've just never been good at that. Like, I don't know how, like your social media presence or like your dating presence is an avatar, and like, I've just never been super prone to like really trying to manicure that. And in first conversations, I'm like, why should I have to like bring my fucking A game? Like,
and see, I'm totally the opposite. I'm like, how can I bring my A game? Like, right? Like I've studied this or quote unquote studied this. I've gone out of my way in order to gain knowledge about this process.
I guess for me, it like feels like an application process.
It is.
I'm like, and if I have to apply and like fight for you to like actually like want to like go out and have a drink for me, like I kind of just like before it started, I'm like,
you're like, fuck that.
I'm just gonna go to the gym, like let me go lift some weights and have a good night.
Right? Yeah. I totally. I think that's there's honor in that approach as well. You know what I mean? For me though, I take it as like. And that's why I wanted to ask you, like, what do you mean? Like, you're not sure, like, if you do this or that? Because every time, like, I say you transition from that phase of you get somebody's phone number on the app, and then you start to text them that initial text, that first text, and you're talking about, what text? Like, that just, hey, how's the day? Or, this weather, huh? Or like, what the fuck do I say? I always, and this is just me, I always try to bring my personality out in text. So I'll always, like, grab something, and it's very, you know what, man, the more and more I think about it now that I'm talking about to say this, it's very formulaic, but it works.
Which I see. All right, continue, but I'm going to come back to that. Formulaic. I'll come back to that.
Because I'll grab something from the message that we had on whatever dating app. Like I'll take something from there, whether it was an inside joke or, something. And usually, for instance, it'll say something, like I'll say something like this. Hey, this is Blake, the podcast guy you met on Bumble or Hinge or whatever, LOL, and then
so you label yourself the podcast guy.
because they're going to do it anyways. Because they by this time they've already known that I do a podcast.
Do you like lead with that? Like that you guys match and you're like, hey, I have a podcast.
Yeah, well, I don't lead with it, but usually I get to a phase of questions where it's like, you know, hey, what are you into type thing. Like, what am I into? What are you into? And I try to find some things out about them, and then they return the favor by asking you, okay, what are top three, you know, what are some things I should know about you type thing.
Yeah.
And it usually, you know, I do this, and I always make sure I put podcasts in there. I do a dating podcast, dating relationship
just
podcast.
Put it on the table.
Yeah, because, you know, I've had, so, and I'd always
This is a very interesting fact, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, I think that like having a podcast, like I said, I've never been on one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like a relatively curated person. Like I watched Joe Rogan have a 2.5 hour long conversation, and like
pull that a little bit closer to you.
gives me a little bit of anxiety just because I'm like I'm not necessarily an oversharer. Like, you know, like you and I get along really well, so I'll have conversations with you about like, yeah, like this is life, but I think you having a podcast says a lot about like your personality. It says like, you know, like dude, like charismatic, outgoing, like not afraid to like have some open conversation. I think that's like a really good detail.
Yeah.
For you to bring out.
Yeah, and I tried to because and somebody told me this a long time ago because I started complaining like at first when I first started dating and telling girls, hey, like I do a dating podcast, relationship podcast, and like some of the girls that I would like, oh, hopefully I, you know, she's really pretty, get to go on this date. They would just stop texting or stop talking or like say like, hey, like I'm not really, you know, man, I don't know, like we should keep talking, whatever. And it's like, bro,
As soon as you said dating podcast,
right?
They were
like
done.
right in the thing. And so I was just like, I was talking to a friend very early on, like late 2018, maybe early last year, and I was just like, man, you know, this is just the situation. I don't fucking know. And he's like, you know what? It's kind of like a blessing, man, because they are filtering themselves out, and they were going to be with you in the first place. Like, say you go on 2 dates and they find out you do a dating podcast. That wasn't going to work out anyways because they're not into it.
Or it's something you're passionate about, and if that's a turnoff for them, if that's a hard stop, well then like you need to know that,
right?
You know, so he's right. Like filter out.
They filter themselves out, and I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. Yeah, it's.
Can I go back?
Yeah,
formulaic. I think that is a great word to sum up what I dislike about the process.
Got you.
I'm partially based off of like my upbringing, which was like very religious, very conservative. Like I'm inherently distrustful of any process that like I feel like I have to conform to.
Got you.
Like, and it cheapens it for me if I know that I can manipulate the conversation and like get the result I want. Like I feel like I'm like. Which
I get it.
I'm completely capable of doing if I want to. Like,
fish in a barrel type thing? Is that what you're saying?
What?
Is fish in a barrel type thing?
Yeah, and like what? Like I want to like read some article and be like, dude, that's like proven to work 90% of the time. So I just use that salvo and like they fall for it.
Okay, so I see where you're. Okay,
you know,
so I see where you're going with this.
To me, that feels formulaic, manipulative, and then also I'm like, if you fall for some stupid shit I just read online, like.
Right.
You know, what does that say?
What does that say about you?
Even though it's like it's more like human psyche, like there are some definite truths of like be funny, be interesting, be like unique. You know, I get all that, but when it feels formulaic and feels like a process I can manipulate, then I'm like less prone to like.
So I totally agree with you, and I will so I'll also add this caveat too because I see where you're going with formulaic, and I should probably clarify when I say formulaic. This is based on me. Like these are things that listen. This it didn't just work out of the gate. Like this is like my own thing.
Yeah.
Completely like the things that I use specifically, the words, conversations, the way I try to lead and stuff like that. Like that's what works for me. Like I had to take a little bit of this, a little bit of, like learn a little bit of this, learn a lot on the fucking fly. Like it's a lot of like just improv at one point, and then you start to carve down what works for you. So I don't think like, I don't mean formulaic in the sense of like, I could just pass this formula to somebody and they could use it. It wouldn't work that way. Like that might not work for their personality because they'd be a certain way
for sure
on text or like they'd know how to whatever. But then when they you meet them in person, you're like, you're nothing like
Yeah.
what you were typing, or what you were saying, or you're not as funny in person, whatever the case might be. So when I say formulaic, this is Blake's formula for what works for Blake, or what's worked for Blake, or how he approaches dating apps. But I couldn't just it's not as simple as 1 and 2 makes 3, and that goes for everyone. This is just 1 and 2, it makes 3 for Blake, but it might be negative 100 for somebody. You know what I mean?
True.
So I think that's what I mean by formulaic, but I totally see where you were going with yes, there are dating coaches out there. Yes, there are hey, say these things and it'll get to this result. And this has been, tried by hundreds of men, and we've spent hours, and these are actual things that I've seen sold and stuff like this. So yeah, there are those things, but yeah, I think when I say formulaic, it's more of I know the process. However, for me, I think the kick I get out of it is this going to work again? Do I need to change? Yeah. Am I still on my A game? Wait a minute. Now, has the game changed in the last few weeks? You know what I mean? There's still the what is it? The hunt, the environment, you're like, I'm back on the hunt again. Yeah, okay. This feels good. You get that adrenaline. You're like, whoo, okay, let me, it's that chase. And I like that. That's cool. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I know it definitely makes sense. I do think everything's personal. We talk about this a lot. One of my favorite sayings of yours is trauma is trauma.
No, yeah.
The extrapolation there being what I experience, what I feel is what I experience and what I feel, and what you experience and feel is yours. And
also
that's going to be different for every person.
Right.
So I understand, me personally, I'm not a fan of any time I have to play the game. Whether that's a college application process.
Got you.
Or
okay.
a dating process. I'm what the fuck? I'm supposed to sit here and manicure and hope you like me? No, you either like me or you don't. And and so I think I'm more prone.
Got it. Okay.
I think I'm more prone sometimes to I'll softball out something that I know will filter a lot of people out, and then if you think it's funny and you're all right, I'm
in for it.
I can deal with that. Now I can take this seriously.
Okay, interesting.
But I don't know. There when I was younger, I played the game. Don't get me wrong. I was more prone to doing that. But I think at this stage in my life, I'm what? I'm supposed to gussy up, and
gussy up. I like that.
Bring back the 1920s.
Yeah, same.
I'm supposed to try to be pretty cute, charming, intelligent, over 6 foot, and then maybe you'll go on a date with me. I'm fuck off.
And it's like that though. It'd be like that sometimes.
No, it's 100% like that. And I'm I like me. Outside of some.
He's I think I'm pretty badass.
Yeah, outside of some self-destructive habits, I'm pretty fucking happy with myself. And if you're not, well, bye, Felicia.
Right, bye, Felicia. Yeah.
So. Yeah,
no, this is true though. But some people do approach it in that way where they don't take it serious at all, and it's not, that's probably a bad way to say it, but just less serious. It's less of I'm damn, that's admirable. I totally commend that, because that's not my approach at all.
I've also been really lucky. I've had some incredible
how so? What do you mean?
My track record for organic happenstance encounters with attractive women that I'm very.
Oh, you mean the old school way of meeting people?
Yes. I've
face to face.
I've met women that were my hairstylist, and that turned. I met my ex, I met her on the train,
Oh wow.
And then that turned into a 6-year relationship.
Holy shit.
I've met women traveling, into the city. I've had some very organic, great relationships, or even great experiences,
just organically, not with dating
apps. Just happened, You know,
How'd that work though? Wait, what do you mean meet people in real life? What do you mean IRL?
they sit down at a bar, they walk onto the train, and you're like, "Hey, girl, like, can I get your number?" You know, like but you say it in not so awful verbiage.
Right.
No, literally, my ex, like, she got on the train.
Oh, this is a real
Like,
thing.
we
Yeah.
were on the same train car. She was like gorgeous. I'm like, okay. First step, attracted. Second, you know, but like the next thought process, it was like, how do I not be the creep on the train? You
Right,
know,
right.
that like came up and like harassed this girl. So like in the back of my head, I was like, if she gets off at the same stop that I do, like I'll say what's up, and like left it at that. Well, she got off at the same stop that I
So you
did.
made a little bet with yourself.
Yeah, I no, it was like a if this happens, then I will.
Uh-huh.
And she got off at the same stop, and then I'm like nervous. I'm like, all right, I told myself.
Palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy.
Vomit on the sweater already, mom spaghetti. No, so like we're like walking down the escalator, and I'm having that like inner monologue, like how the fuck do I like say hello to this girl and like let it not be creepy and like all this shit. And like we kind of like are walking the same direction, and we're like the taxis are like right there,
right?
You know, they're like right there. And I was like, do you know where the taxis pick up? You know. Like going back, like she like knew exactly what was up,
right?
But then I hit her with like a very strong salvo after this.
What's
like,
the salvo?
The salvo, like, you know, like a firing barrage. You know, it's like a military term, salvo. S-A-L-V-O.
If you guys could see my face right now, I'm so lost when he said
my
salvo.
dude is just staring at me like, what the fuck? No, so like the taxis are like within visible distance, and she knows what's up. But she like points it out. I think I asked like, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. Like we had a quick conversation. I was like, are you single? Like, would you like to go grab drinks sometime? And got her number.
The balls on this man.
Right? Like, and that turned into a fucking 6-year relationship, you know? So it's
no
like,
wonder you're walking with a lamp. You got some heavy ass balls, bro.
But it's like, shit like that to me is so much more like rewarding and natural than me having to like pick out which 5 or 6 pictures and then like ask the greatest question and then like try to like be funny and cute and charming all over like, you know, this like fucking you know, sentence structure. I'm like, dude, like I'm gonna have some shit that's gonna come my way.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's there's a lot to unpack right there, but yes. So the short answer is yes. Yeah. So he went up to her, T-pained her, can I buy you a drink? I was just thinking about that because I was listening to that yesterday, but it's true. Like, but that doesn't happen often enough. You know what? Like I was talking with somebody, I think it was like I don't know. I was talking with somebody one time. I think it was maybe even, anyways, I was talking with somebody one time about like people approaching people nowadays. Like it's so like not common.
Becoming taboo.
Yeah, it's so not common. And like, but the coolest thing is when it does happen, like even when you're in an elevator with somebody, right? Oh, what floor are you on? You know, hey, and they do the elevator button for you. And even if you just were to say when you get off the elevator, hey, have a good day. They're like, what the fuck?
No, for sure.
Me? You talking to me?
I do it.
You know what I mean? Like it freaks people.
100%.
But then like you kind of like, oh, there's a friendly person. They're just friendly.
So this is so funny. So I was out with Gabby yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we went like hung out, walked along the river, and we stopped at a coffee shop beforehand. And it was so weird because there were these 2 girls next to us. Both had lost their phone the night before.
Oh God!
Like, they were like on their iPads, like looking a little hungover. But you know, like it was funny. But like we ended up having like conversation with them. Dude next to us, like kind of like jumped into our conversation. So it's like me, Gab, 2 groups of two groups of strangers, all end up like talking with each other for like 30-35 minutes.
No,
which doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Anymore. It feels like, and then like to segue with that, like, you know, I was teasing Gabby as we walked out. I was like, if I knew it wasn't creepy and like blah blah blah, like one of the girls was like my type, and I was like, the thought crossed my brain. I was like, yeah, like maybe like make some line, you know, drop my number, etc. But the other part of that, I was just like, that just, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, I just feel like that does not work as much anymore because people have these walls up. They're like, I'm only interested in dating when I'm browsing through Tinder or Hinge, you know, or like
I see, and then it's down when like that gate is now open for that to be able to enter their world.
But I feel like people are segmenting their lives because they're able to. And
Okay.
like, it's just, it feels safer and easier that way. And then when folks talk to you, like in the elevator, or like a dude like asks for your number, or like someone like asks how your day was, I feel like at this point, like kind of where we're heading socially, is that's weird. It's becoming just weird when like you have those interactions. Because Gabby and I both talked about it. It's like we just had a conversation for 35 minutes with like a stranger, or several groups of strangers, and
so yeah. And one way I would like to kind of close what I was now thinking as you were saying, you know, one of the girls maybe was your type. You always bring up the, hey, you guys seem really cool. Let's grab happy hour one day. You guys seem cool. You know, I work downtown. Like, I'm around. Oh, yay. No. You know, it's probably going to be, yes, everybody loves happy hour. Everybody loves drinks. And that's always a good way to like enter, you know, like with, so throw that one in the bag for you there, Tyler.
Just tap it down.
Yeah. Just jot that down. First of all, but yeah, it is so like that's a rare sight nowadays. For what you just said, that story right there, that is a rare thing. Like, you just be out and about, and all of a sudden, one group enough is rare enough. Like, for you to just all of a sudden be friendly with two different segments of groups. Oh man, that is like that's the white buffalo right there.
You were talking about to bring it back to your cousin. One of the things. A quote that has stuck with me, I wish I could find it, but it's like, you attract what you're ready for. It's like something that's kind of like been in my head for the last few months.
Interesting.
You know?
Okay.
Like, and I feel like that works professionally, relationally, like whatever it is. I do think that you kind of like attract what you're currently like ready for.
What vibe you're on.
What vibe you're giving off. And like, I thought about it later, but I'm like, Gabby and I are both like pretty outgoing, bubbly people.
Right.
You know,
right.
Like, I feel like we're both very approachable. Like, Gabby's one of the most approachable people I've ever met.
I'm not gonna lie. When I first met you, I didn't think you were approachable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look scary.
True.
I was on a date at Gibson and I saw you. It was like some Monday, and I saw you and I was like, oh, I know he works at my office, but he looks scary. Ooh, I'm not gonna say huh. And then like it was that Friday. It was like that Friday right after, and like I'm like, oh, that motherfucker's cool as fuck.
For those listening in, I'm 6'4" with a big beard, and I'm built like a linebacker, and I do have like a resting like bitch face, So I do feel like once I don't know, like especially like with someone who's super friendly like Gabby, like we were just like having great conversations.
Right.
But I think maybe we like made people feel comfortable enough to kind of like join in and like be a part of the fun.
Yeah.
But it's like if we had both just been sitting there heads down, giving off that vibe like we don't want to chat, like maybe that wouldn't happen. But I was still surprised that, we ended up having this great interaction with like 3 people I may never see again.
Right. Right.
Which was awesome. It was like a great start to a great day.
Yeah, and that's the vibe, man. You putting out them vibes, girl. Yeah. But it's also too, I mean, just in a community sense, like in people's brains, it's embedded in their DNA. Like you see a group of people smiling, laughing, hanging out, looking like they're having a good time.
Yeah.
Always in your head, like, damn, I want to have a good time too. Like, and if they involve you, it's like me. I got chosen out the audience to participate. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It's like the best possible thing you can do, I feel like, for your dating life is to have a bunch of people around you that like you. Like a strong group. Like everyone's fun. Have a bunch of attractive female friends, and people are like, all right, like apparently like he's
high value.
Yeah, he's worth being around.
Yes.
Like
everybody loves to be around him.
For sure.
Everybody loves Raymond. No.
It says so. Raymond.
Yeah. Old Ray Romano, man. Shout outs to him. But yeah, man, it's that is a thing right there, man. Okay, I want to do. I want to take a quick break. And sort of re-up on the drinks, make sure we're good, come back, and then we'll hop back right back where we were. We're going to take a quick break, folks. You people won't even notice the difference.
Gucci.
Little fire in my soul, like embers rising up from the cold. A little spark in the bowl. Was a fragment, not the foe. Kinda hell-bent on being alone until you came in and broke the mold.
And we are back. You didn't even notice the difference. I'm here with my boy, Tyler. Tyler, we were talking during the break Ironically, it's a word that has the word break in it. About breakups.
Here we go.
And here we go, in the words of Mike Goldberg from UFC and Bellator. But this is a thing. Hey, breakups is real. Breakups is real. And I think the cool thing I found out about you, you've gone through a 6-year relationship when there's a breakup at the end. I did similar number, 5.5 year. That's damn near 6 years. You know what I mean? Different set of circumstances. That person had a kid, but this was like, I think this was one of the first times where I told you trauma's trauma.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think we were talking about this, and it's like, can you compare this to, I think you were asking around the room. We were at $7,000, and it was a few happy hours ago. And right, and I think you were talking about it. What's the longest relationship everybody's been in? Remember that? We were around the table.
And like, I'm so bad about that. We'll be out. Everybody will be having a good time, and I'll just like softball up some question and get everybody in their feelings, like, I mean, just like, all right. So like, what was your longest relationship and what was his or her name?
Right.
Like, his, her, they, them, and so it's like, folks are like, shit, Tyler, but then everyone participates.
Yes.
Like everyone's like willing.
Just like this podcast. Like, I tell people I do dating relationship podcasts. I tell people like you, I want to have you on, and it's probably like, what are we going to talk about? But we end up now like a few minutes deep into this, and you realize like, I got a lot to say about this actually.
Yeah.
And I mean, you did even before then, but I think it's a little nerve wracking when there's a microphone in front of you, and it's not a thing you do all the time. But
20 minutes of foreplay and 2 beers later, like, I'm ready. Like, let's do this.
We warmed the oven up. Now we can put some food in there. But I think I say all that to say, everybody has a story and everybody wants to be heard.
For sure.
Everybody wants to be heard, and everybody wants to tell their story. And I think people are scared, or they have that, they talk about guards and stuff like that, because nobody wants, even in storytelling, nobody wants the rejection, right? Nobody wants to have their feelings or story or voice rejected.
Yeah, everyone wants to be validated. Everyone wants to be validated. No one wants to be rejected.
Right. And not enough people, I think, actually, unless you like start to get to know somebody, really want to take the time to just like talk with them about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the most beautiful things as a podcast host. Because I don't know if I would have done it. Maybe I would have grown into it, but being and hosting a podcast like this, I have found like my ability to random people, new people I meet, to just start digging in to them and like genuinely wanting to know about them. And then usually gets to dating relationship. And then like, man, usually I wouldn't tell anybody this, but when you start to hear that out of people you just met, like, man, usually I don't say that, or man, I haven't told the story, but you didn't ask for it. They just are genuinely feel like they're being heard.
Well, which is funny, like learning to ask good questions and actually listening. And
actually listening
actually listening are like, in my mind, what it takes to be a successful like salesperson, or, and like the funny thing is like, I think that there's such a stigma and like, reputation of sales. But like, I feel like I've become a better person through like learning good sales process, which like, literally is all about asking good questions, take what they give you. When they give you a thread, pull on it, and until you can't find anything else more about, what it is that the challenge that they're facing. But you also have to listen. Like if every time you say something, I'm only just calculating my response, like the conversation's fucked. Right. It might happen, but it's not natural. There's not a bunch of like personal give and take there. Whereas like what you're learning is if I ask great questions and actually listen and then follow up on what they give me and then ask great questions about that, like that's where the process becomes natural.
Did you just describe dating again?
Yeah.
Because that's literally what happens on your first few dates, right? Like, hopefully you're there hopefully you're attentive, first of all, and you're there. Hopefully you want to get to know the other person. And hopefully, in your mind, you're hoping that this other person wants to get to know you too. Yeah. And you try to strike that chord of exactly what you just described. Because if they're just waiting to tell you a whole bunch of shit, or, and I think this is the problems, like, girls find out about guys like, oh, he just talked about himself the whole time.
For sure.
How many times have you fucking heard that?
Yeah.
And it goes both ways with guys and girls. They just talk about themselves the whole goddamn time. I didn't get a word in.
Yeah.
They didn't feel like they were being heard. They didn't feel like they were a part of the conversation.
It's that validation.
They didn't feel validated.
You know?
Yeah. They did not feel validated. But all that to say, so we were talking at 7 Grand, and it was about breakups. And this is when I started hearing yours, and I was just like, oh man, like, yeah, breakups is real, and people want to. So you've been broken up how long now?
Like June.
Last year.
Yeah.
And then you got on dating apps.
Maybe a couple months later.
Yeah?
Something like that.
Okay. What was that like when that time, that gap, that space in between?
I just traveled a lot, actually.
Okay.
Right after the breakup, I'm super lucky. I've got an incredible support group, like in my life, like good friends, good family, like, and so I was able to work remote from my job.
Okay.
And I hit the road for like a month and a half. I was in Kansas City for a few weeks. I was in DC for a week.
All this was after the breakup, like right after?
Right after the breakup. Like I was just like, I mean, because we still had an apartment together. We were still like figuring out like what happens.
Dang. Okay, so y'all were still living together and broken up?
Essentially, still living together. Like I came back and like we lived together for like a couple weeks before like I found like my new spot. Like shit was like,
how weird was that?
We were in the trenches.
How weird is that, man? So awkward.
Dude, there's nothing, absolutely nothing worse. You ever seen the movie The Breakup?
Yes.
Dude.
Just like that.
Oh, except that's funny. It's not like...
Right. He's like, what I was living was not funny.
No, it was like sad and awkward, and you're just like living in this like shell of like a previous... Like, no. It's
right, yeah.
It's literally a shell of what was previously. And
you're reminded of it every time you come home, like
you know, and like still, like I roll to that part of town. And it's like, okay, we used to go there every Friday. Like we used to go there for coffee. You know, it's like, you know, she lives in New York now, and like part of me's envious because it's just like she's building her own memories, and I still walk through parts of town. I'm like, that's like Lauren and I's spot.
Damn,
you know.
Yeah.
So, but all that to say, like, I traveled a lot, which also helped me process.
Interesting.
I think anytime you're in a relationship, and like the relationship ended, so things obviously were not great, you know, like there were, and I'll take a lot of blame on my side, and you know, and whatever there is to give for her, but all of a sudden, like I was traveling and I was around my people, like, you know, I was around my cousins, around my friends, and like I think it's a great headspace, and I would offer this, like, if you have the opportunity, if it is available, post a breakup, get out, travel, go around, be around like folks who love you, like get your swagger back. Like I remember like just being in
Stella needs to get her groove back.
No, I was just like, I remember being in Kansas City and like literally like buddies are like taking off work, and they didn't even know I was like broken up. Like literally buddies are like taking off work, you know, to like make sure that we can go out and like have a night together. Like everyone like offered me like, you know, their guest bedroom. And I just had this moment. I was like, people fucking like me.
Right.
You know, like they do.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's like a good like healing mechanism. Just like be around folks who like give a shit, and like be around your people,
right,
and also give you a chance to like maybe not like be living in the bullshit.
Yeah, I like that. Be around your people, be around your tribe, surround yourself with a tribe that is going to support you no matter. I think that's beautiful. I actually did not, I would say I didn't take that approach. It took a while.
So let's pause real quick.
Yes,
I'm going to repeat the exact same question back to you. So when was the breakup?
February 2018, so it's been 2 years.
February 2018. What were those like 2 months like for you after?
So I moved in with my grandparents right after like we broke up.
Because y'all were living together?
Because we were living together. I moved out. I'd already, so to kind of add the caveat to I'd already moved out, we had broken up in June, July-ish 2016.
Okay.
So I had moved half of my shit to my grandparents back then, and I never moved it back because in my head I always felt like we were going to break up again.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, it just got deep.
I was living one foot, what my grandma calls it, 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on a banana peel the whole time.
Oh, I love
for
you.
that.
I love your grandma already.
She's fucking awesome. But for a year and a half, imagine that. Like my mindset was, we never cleared things up. I never moved my stuff back. Like when we got back together, it was real, like it happened real physically, right? Like just a whole bunch of sex, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
everything's good again. But like really in my head, I'm like, we really never cleared that thing up. We never cleared up
It was a
the
thing?
breakup. It was she cheated on me. So we never cleared that up though. Like it was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it again and whatever.
Yeah.
And then when she broke up with me, ended up being a similar thing. I'm like, girl, oh no, baby, what is you doing? You know what I mean? But, so it was February 2018. I was just in a bad way. I, had gained a lot of weight in the relationship. So I was already in a bad place physically.
Yeah.
Let me see. I think I have what I look like post the breakup. Give me 2 seconds to find it. Here we go. Here we go. So this was post breakup, and then this was on my birthday last July. That was literally the week of the breakup.
I see you.
I see. The glow up is real, homie.
Yeah. Left and right, ladies and gentlemen, look very different.
The glow up is real. But like I was in a bad place physically, mentally, all that good stuff. So all that bad stuff, I should say. And I moved in with my grandparents, and I just remember, the process that I did for myself was like, well, I know if I go to the gym, I'm going to feel better and I'm going to look better and it's going to get all, my aggression out. It's going to be better. It's like I relied heavily on my physical.
For sure.
And then there would be like a lot of nights, I'd say 4 or 5 days out of the week would end like this. I'd go to the gym or like something, get an activity, do something, keep me busy. Or usually it was a gym until about like I'd come home like close to 9 or whatever. And then I would eat, and then I would go outside and put my grandpa, when grandpa has a truck, put his truck bed down. I'd sit on the back of it, grab some waters, put my headphones in, and I'd have a pack of smokes with me, and I'd just like chain smoke and like think, and I'd be outside for like 2 hours, just like listening to music, thinking, and you start to do all these things like, what's wrong with me? You start to process, go through the grieving process. Yeah. Right? You go through the grieving process. You get depressed, angry, and then by the end of it though, you got to accept it. It's the 5 stages of grief are, denial, depression, anger, bargaining, and acceptance. Those are the 5. I don't know. I know acceptance is the last piece. I don't know if it's in order, but those are the 5 stages of grief. You go through that, man. You go through the motions. So I was very just like working things out internally. And I started hanging out again with friends to try and get, I think Stella's needs to get her groove back too. You know what I mean? I need to do the things that make me happy. So I started hanging out with friends that I hadn't in a while, reaching out to everybody and just started to like, what's fun? What is fun for me? Yeah. I started, I was doing the podcast then and my MMA one, and it was at the peak of like where my MMA podcast got pretty well known in MMA circles. Dude, we were like number 30 in like iTunes on like you type in MMA and you go through like the top 100 podcasts.
That's super cool, man.
We were like top 30 for like a month and a half. Like that was the peak of where I'm like, holy shit, this is that thing. This is
going somewhere.
I had a whole bunch of sponsors too. I had been doing it for I started the podcast December 2014. Okay. And so again, this is February 2018. I'm like, man, this is really taking off. You know what I mean? This is the glow up was real for your boy. I stopped doing the podcast. I wasn't in love with the sport anymore. When you talk about walking through parts of town, you know what I mean? I think I rethink that way. There's things like that too, where you walk through places and you're like, God damn, I remember last time I was here, it was with so-and-so, you know what I mean? Like, fuck, but it's still in the back of your mind, but then you're just like, fuck it. Like, I'm here now. I'm doing this. There was things like that with like fighting, because I remember like, I would always bring my laptop with me anywhere we went if we would go to friends on the weekends and they were having a little party get together. I always bring my laptop with me to watch the fights, because fuck it. Like, I want to watch the fights, and these people aren't fight fans, and I'm not going to have them put it on TV just for me. Like, I'm not that special. You know what I mean? But I want to watch fights, and you might actually get mad, but whatever. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to watch my fights. I'll still talk with people, but I'm being in my little corner watching And when they're done, then I'll start chatting with everybody. But there were moments like that where I'm like, she put up with it and it was tolerable, but I still got my fight nights in. And just, there's a lot of fight nights like we had at the house too. Like that was the thing we did.
Yeah.
So I fell out of love with the sport. I fell out of love with podcasting.
Do you feel like that was because some of those like neural pathways were tied to like memories of the relationship?
Precisely. Yeah, for sure. Right. Like I remember, like, I think a large part of it too, that I look back was the comfortability of being able to do the podcast and not do an MMA podcast, do a sports podcast and not have to worry that my relationship life is in danger.
Okay.
Like there's that stability there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this ain't going away. Like, I don't have to put in this much work. Like, yeah, this is good. Like, I just get to focus on these whole other things that make me happy in podcasting and talking with fighters and coaches and stuff. That made me happy. Yeah. And people love it. You know what I mean? So I stopped doing that though. I took a break away because like, obviously I was sad too. I'm not about to be on my podcast, but like, I think so-and-so is going to win this weekend. And like, people, why you sound so sad?
Sniffles it.
Yeah. And you know, I'm like, why you sound so sad, man? Sad boy, get off the fucking.
I'm fucking sad.
Yeah.
That's why. Fight me.
I don't want to be like Drake in my feels on my podcast. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't care what anyone says. In his feelings, Drake is like peak Drake to me. Like,
that is Drake at his most Drakiest.
Like, dude, mixtape Drake. Like, I'm here for it. Like Drake trying to be like, you know, fucking like strong and hood. Like, I'm not there for that. But like Drake, like in his feelings,
in your feels, Drake.
Oh, dude, I'm here for it.
That's my favorite kind of Drake.
Yeah. Shut It Down, one of the greatest songs of all time.
We gonna shut it down,
Track 8, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man, dude, that's my fucking jam right there. Yeah, I fell out of love. I didn't do it for like 6 months. It took me 6 months to come back to the podcast game, and my podcast I'm still kind of recovering in that realm
for sure.
But I guess to answer your question, what I did was took a lot of me time, found out what made me happy. I took a lot of solo time by myself just to work out things in my head. And also I started this like one of I think the earliest concepts of where like this might be a podcast, like talking a dating relationship before I even had a name for it. I would hang out with my friends and 3 or 4 of us, you know, one of them was a girl, 2 of them were guys. And we would do things every Friday. We were all single. We had all gone through breakups pretty recently. Yeah. Kind of funny enough. And we all made our own little support group. It was like the single people's support group.
Which to the audience is one of the most fucking necessary processes. I feel like me time. Yes, that's completely necessary. But like, so I'll take this to a religious, like I have a very religious background.
Go for it.
My cousins and I grew up in the same, for those of you listening, Pentecostal, which might as well be fucking Amish. You know, it's like essentially a cult, you know. But I moved to Kansas City. Actually, it's kind of similar to you. There were multiple breakups in my 6-year relationship. Moved to Kansas City actually, and was around my cousins who actually grew up in the exact same religious environment that I did. Their dad was a pastor. Like we just like share experiences. And there were multiple nights where we would just like all like, and this would be like before or after we just went out and like partied it up, you know, but we'd all be sitting there like talking through
that's what it is,
our religious experience. And like we have the exact same experience, you know, like we have the exact same like family expectations. We grew up in the exact same churches. We know the exact same people. And so it was like this like perfect storm in a good way of being able to talk through some things that I'd struggled with my entire life, but be in an environment where like those people know my experience.
It's a circle of trust right here. Yeah.
Yeah. They know it like intimately.
Yes.
You know, they're not being sympathetic. They're truly being empathetic. And like that time in Kansas City, for no other reason than for like that year of my life, I was around people that I was able to like have a support group that truly understood me. And like, so fucking valuable as it relates to relationships. Like, be around folks and like talk that shit out. You know,
and that's what we did, man. Like we would hang out, make sure we hang out Fridays and Saturdays. Every Friday we try to go out and do something like together as a little group.
Yeah.
Whether it's go grab drinks, go grab food, go to a comedy show, like go do things together with a little support. And then by the end of the night, we were usually back in my, you know, the outside of my grandma's house, hanging out, drinking and talking through like breakups and relationships, and you were trying to figure out the opposite sex too. What does this mean if so and so does this, or if, you know, very early on though, kind of I remember in my head thinking like, this would be a good podcast very early on. This was like April, May in 2018. And I didn't start Unfiltered Bachelor until November of that year. So this was very early. This kind of planted the seeds of pre-Unfiltered Bachelor talk. But yeah, that's what I did, man. That's what I did. And I was over, but I think what made mine different was I was over my ex already halfway the first time we broke up. And by the time the second time happened, it took me a week to get like over it, where I'm like, I don't want to be with you. Yeah. This is never going to happen. Even if you came back to me begging, this is never going to. And when I accepted that, then I could just move on with like, okay, we don't need to talk. We don't need to be friends on social media. We don't need to do anything. You go, like, I was accepting of more of like, you go your way, and less of like, hey, maybe we just kind of be friends and like that. I was like, nah, man, like, we're just going to go our ways. Yeah. And, God bless you. God bless me. And we're good. Like, that's it. That's all it needs to be. So the acceptance came a lot quicker. Not to say there's not still like.
Acceptance and processing are two different things.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Accepting and processing are completely two different things. But I think in my case was I accepted it, but there's also still, I'm human, so there's still those lingering times where it's just like you're talking about, where you go somewhere, you're like, damn,
it's neural pathways.
Last time I was here, like, it's neural pathways. Last time I was here, in my head, it's this person was there with me to go to this place, wherever, and it the little reminders are there lingering. You're like, okay, but like that happened, whatever. That's in the past. Yeah. So it's I'm a bit more out to the point, and I keep saying, and maybe it's just a reminder for me, but I feel like I'm a bit more of it. All right, it's over. It's done with. Like, let's move on. And I had to process with how, I think the biggest thing I had to process was, how do I make myself better, and how do I get back out there? And I took time away from dating too. I took like 6-7 months didn't date. Like, I just kind of hung out with my friends. Yeah. So that was hey, that's my story.
That's your story.
I'm sticking to it.
I dig it. I think like in a lot of ways we did things kind of opposite. Like you like immediately kind of went to like you time and like laid low, and like I've described. It's funny. Like, I have a bunch of folks in my life that have either like recently gone through breakups or divorces or like whatever else, and like I kind of went through it like right before them. Okay. And so like we talk about it, and like,
so you traveled the uncharted land first,
even if only for like a couple months. Yeah. But like one of my phrases over the last couple months has been like high highs and low lows. You know, like you're gonna have your high highs. You know, like you're gonna have that like, fuck it, I'm single, I'm free, like the world's my oyster, like, you know, like everything's on the up and up. And then you're gonna have low lows where it's like you're alone in your apartment, you know, and you're like, for me, like, you know, I'm newish to Austin, like majority of my friend group is like scattered across the country. Like, you're gonna have those nights where you just sit there and like you take yourself to fucking task, and you're like, these are all the things that I did wrong, like these are all the ways in which I'm a shitty human being. You know, like you're gonna have both of those, I feel like, along the way. And I would argue, like, I feel like a lot of times in failed relationships, it's never just like a spike, you know, like I think you can typically see the downward trend. There's typically,
it's one of two things. I was just listening to you earlier when you were describing, you know, the breakup situation. It's typically one of two things. It's either the accumulation of a bunch of fucking things that break the camel's back. Huh?
War of fucking attrition.
Yeah, that's what it is. Or it's one big thing where one person's like, no. Yeah. This is a big thing for me. I cannot accept this. We're done.
Or it's both.
Yeah, or it can be both.
Or it can be both. But I think those are the two combinations. But for me, it's like I felt like I hit my high highs like right after the breakup. Like I said, I was traveling. I was around my people. Like I felt like I got my swagger back. You know, like I was feeling good.
Talk about low lows, man. I remember being in Houston. Because you hit a high. I'm going to bring it down a peg. I'm going to go down the opposite way. I remember being in Houston.
Welcome to Blake's Fields.
I was actually, and so one of the things I didn't tell you was for about the first month and a half, shout out to my buddy Raquel. We've been friends since 2011.
Love you, Raquel.
Yeah, love her to death. She's the sweetest human being in the world. It's just, and we you know, it was funny when I first met her because I was trying to holler at her, and then we just ended up becoming like best of friends, and we've stayed friends. But I remember going through my breakup. Shout outs to her because she would talk to me on the phone at night.
God bless those friends.
And the reason that was important, Blake, you talk to a girl on the phone, okay, whatever. But the reason that was important is because you know, when you're with somebody for so long, like especially a girl, a female companion. In my case, I'll describe my case. For some guys, it might be a guy in their life, or some girls, it might be a girl. Whatever you're into. For me, I was so used to having that female companionship right before the end of the night, and the last thing you hear is a female voice. I kind of needed that to like completely get that plugged away. Like, does this make any sense?
Did you know that about yourself,
No.
or did she like just like randomly like supply that for you?
No, like I didn't know that, but I remember for the first few days, like I had trouble sleeping and like just whatever. Just like it just didn't feel like this. Felt like just so like you're attached to a drug. And then all of a sudden you're cold turkey and you're just kind of tossing and turning, scratching your neck.
It's dopamine receptors.
Yes, it's exactly. It's chemical. Trauma is trauma. It's your body processes it the same way.
Yeah.
You know,
your body doesn't give you a roadmap. You know, your brain's not like, this is why we're feeling off today.
Yeah.
You know, your brain's just like, no, fuck you.
But I remember after talking with Raquel, so it could have been because we just talked and she just kind of heard me out, and she was going through some things and we kind of talked to each other. But I just remember feeling like, you know what? Like hearing a female voice before I go to sleep, it's comforting. It's comforting. Like I could probably tell this to one of my guy friends, to one of my besties, to one of my homies, but I don't know if it'd have the same impact of having that. Just like hearing of it was therapeutic, bro. This is the craziest therapeutic thing that I found. But when you I think when I describe it this way, like it kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I had to describe it to myself. I was like, why is this better? And I'm like,
I don't think you should like look at it that way. Like I do think that I guess be self-aware enough to know like if there's something that you like feel like you require and it's like very negative for you, like have that thought process and like, you know, like mind that shit out.
Right.
But if something feels good for the most part, you know,
go with it.
You know, and so if so, like, you know, I don't know if you and like Raquel like still talk.
Yeah. It's just still the homie. Yeah.
Like during that period, like that's what you needed.
Yes.
You know, and like
you attract. What is it? You attract what?
Attract what you're ready for. You know?
I was ready for that. I needed that.
Yeah.
So to go to the low of lows. So I went to go visit her actually. Visit her twice that summer, May and June. And I remember the second time I was there. I went with my buddy Bobby and she was there. Them two were taking she took a nap and she let us have the guest room. So Bobby was like, I'm gonna take a nap, man, cause fucking tired. Yeah, cool. So everybody in the house is goddamn napping, except for your boy. I'm up day drinking. It's 4:00, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, and I was caught a little buzz, and then all of a sudden I start playing. Like I was in my feels, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna play some Post Malone, and I played that. I don't, you know, most.
I fall apart.
Oh, I fall apart. Yeah,
dude. Like I knew where you were going.
Yeah, that one and then
you were my shorty. I thought.
Yeah, that one and
ladies and gentlemen, a single tear just rolled down Blake's face.
And then the other one. You probably think that you are better now. Better now. He had just came out with that.
Yeah,
he had just came out with that. But I was jamming that one and I fall apart back and back. And then I just remember I was drinking my whiskey and Coke and I just started falling apart, dude. Like I was just like, what the fuck? Like I just remember crying.
Did you lock yourself in the bathroom or were you like,
I was in the living room.
No. I would have left.
I was falling apart. I was in Houston, bro.
I would have been in the backyard somewhere. Like,
I went to the patio and I went to get smoking, and I had never smoked and cried at the same time. I was smoking and crying, and I was.
How does that work? You know, like, do you inhale and?
I don't remember. It was so dramatic. But yeah, man, like that was a fucking thing.
No.
I was falling apart to Post Malone while he was telling me to fall apart, that he falls apart.
Yeah.
We was all falling apart, goddammit.
I dig it.
Talking about lowest of lows, I wanted to hit that note for like a story for me. Like that took me back to that.
Well, I think there's like so many things to unpack there. And like there's no right answer. Like once you go through a breakup, like the back to trauma is trauma. Like how you process and how you're going to heal is not going to be how I process and how I'm going to heal. Like,
right.
You know, it's like it's unique to you. But I think it's funny you were talking about like, you know, like listening to music. So right after the breakup, so like I travel for like a month and a half, you know, come back, we go through this super awkward stage of like a couple of weeks. of like I come home and like sleep on the couch, you know,
Yeah.
and like we like wake up and like kind of like see each other in the morning, and it's this shell of like what it used to be, and it's fucking awful. Like I mean, like that like I have never been more unhappy in my entire life.
I mean,
And like she hit a breaking point too. She's like, you just have to move out. I don't care what happens. Like you gotta
go.
You gotta go. I was like, church.
Sounds good.
Church, I get it. So I found this like sublet as I got a new apartment. There was like a month gap between the apartment that I live in now, and I found this sublet with this great couple with 3 great dogs, and it just like worked out perfectly. But they live in like Cherrywood, you know, like super cute.
What the fuck is Cherrywood?
Little south of like Mueller.
Okay.
Like super cute, super neighborhoody, like really, really like picturesque. And like I would just go on like hour-long walks, you know, listen to like some sad ass like Julia Michaels bullshit, like on my, you know, like on my phone. But like those were like necessary moments. It's like you're gonna have your highs where you go out with your buddies and like some girl like tries to give you her number and you like get, you know, like ego, you know, kind of like kicks out. Like you're gonna have like moments where you feel great,
right?
And then you're gonna have the moments where you're like walking around the neighborhood just like feeling fucking low.
Yeah.
And like everyone that I've been talking to recently like post like their breakups. I'm like, just like come to terms with that immediately. Just know that you're gonna have high highs and you're gonna have low lows. And so when you hit that night where like one of my good friends right now like went through a major breakup, girlfriend cheated on her, and has like moved on, is living her best life with like a new girl, and it's like very visible on like social media and shit. Like I've talked with her. I'm like, it's okay for it to suck.
Yeah.
You know, like it's okay. Like you're gonna have nights where you feel great, you know, and you may feel great on Saturday, and then on Sunday you may be like a fucking wreck in the living room listening to like Julia Michaels on repeat. Like that's fine. Right. You
may be falling apart with Post Malone all over again. Yeah.
Like, you know, balls out with whiskey and coke, you know, like crying your eyes out on the back patio.
Why are you describing my life?
Yeah. Like, you know, I'm not coming for your throat, but it's like, I do feel like as a human, like if you just like set
the terms
back to sales, you know, like set expectations,
boom,
up front. You know, and like while you're healing, while you're processing, just being like, there are going to be days where I feel like I'm on top of the world, and there are going to be days where I fucking hate myself. Yeah. You know, like they're both going to happen.
I think that's beautiful to say that, and I want to add this caveat to this: is set those expectations, right? Like this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. The goal is that the bad happens less than the good. The bad days happen less than the good days. That's what we want to. That's what you try to work towards, right? Yeah. Like it's going to happen. This month, okay, maybe I had 10 bad days. Can we do maybe 9 next month? Maybe 8? Can I try to work to getting that number lower, or that time, right? Maybe if it was all night, maybe just it gets less. And it goes down to 10 minutes, 20, like, you know what I mean? Like 5 minutes, like it just hits you and then it goes. Like eventually that's the goal you want to work towards.
You just opened up like Pandora's box for me, because like it brought me back to what you said earlier about like you recognized and identified that the gym was good for you. Like you felt good doing it. And like one of the things that I've been talking through with like my people, and like I said, like I'm, you know, a couple months in front of some of my friends that are going through like these like traumatic breakups. Like you have to make this list of what you know is good for you. And so like here's an example, and it's not always about the relationship. Like, right. I came out of work one day. This was like a month and a half ago. And like, I work out a pretty good amount. You know, I run, I lift, blah, blah, blah.
Good looking kid.
But I know that like those are good for me. Like right. I know how they make me feel. And like, I came out of work like a month or so ago. I was just low, and I knew I was low, and like I needed a win. Like I knew I just needed a win. And so I went to the gym, and like, I wasn't supposed to lift heavy that day, but I was feeling good, and I was like motivated because I was not feeling so great, you know. And so I've got like my fucking like, you know, my max playlist going, and like I just crushed it in the gym, you know. Right. Went down there, deadlift session, 2+ hours, like hit like probably 40 more pounds that night than I should have hit, but that was a win, and it was so small. Like it's like on paper it seems stupid. No. You know, it's like on paper, it's like, oh, wow, you lifted 40 more pounds than you were supposed to, and you did like these 2 great sets. But like I walked out of the gym and I felt better. And so it's like I would say like for anyone that's like processing a breakup or like processing any sort of trauma in your life, like make a list of things that are small wins or like make you feel good.
Perfect.
Whether that's
Yes.
take a walk, get some sunshine, drink water, like don't drink that day, go to the gym, get a win, call your mom,
or maybe drink, get a win. Like that's your win that day. Whatever's on your list of wins.
Like have a list of like a fallback plan of like, these are the 10 things. Like give a homeless dude $20 and like buy him dinner and like have a conversation with him. Like that makes me feel great. It does. So it's like, make your list of like
of wins,
and then on your low days, like do those. Force yourself to do them, even when you don't want to.
I think that is beautiful. Yeah, and I'd say this too. Like I describe this to people that I have conversations with, is that don't come on the podcast when you're out and about. It's the wins. It's all about the wins, man. And that's why I knew at the gym equals win for me. Like even if I'm feeling low, even when I'm feeling high, my best, like I know I'm going to go, better. I'm going to go win, and it's going to be good for me all around. I'm not aiming for that day though, for like, I'm not aiming to sweat this much or lift this much. I'm aiming just to get in there, do what I do best, and then come out, and then we'll process the rest of it, man. It's like that quote from Fast and Furious, right? Live my life 1/4 mile at a time.
Oh, Vin Diesel, the philosopher,
right?
Confucius, Nostradamus, Vin Diesel, all the same.
But I apply that to the gym, right? Like, or you can apply it to any win. But for me, the gym, it's like I live my life kind of one workout at the time, one workout session at a time, until I can process the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that's my place of sanctity. That's my place where I knew that I could unload all that. Hey, you got some pain behind the eyes. You can unload it over there. You know what I mean?
And you can unload it and not feel bad about it.
Right. No. I've never walked out of the gym and been like
toxic masculinity, ladies and gentlemen. Like the gym is our version of like girl talk and therapy. We're just like, let me go to the gym and like I can work this shit off and like I'm sweating, not crying.
Yeah,
like I'm crying out of my pores.
You're crying, I'm not crying. But that's what it is. It's that win. I've never walked out of the gym saying, "Man, I shouldn't have done that." You know what I'm saying? Like no. I've always walked out feeling always better.
And it can even be a placebo effect. Like I
fuck it, whatever, it works.
Man, woman, they, them. Like you walk out of the gym and like if you look in the mirror after you go to the gym, your body image is like so much more positive.
Right.
You're like, dude, I'm so swole right now. Like even when you're not. 45 minutes later, you're like, no, I still look.
I'm a sexy beast.
Those endorphins that like
everything kicking in.
But it's like it doesn't just have to be the gym. Maybe it's the gym.
Whatever helps. Whatever. I think it always goes back to. And I think this topic is great. Post breakup wins. What does that mean to you? Do you know what they are? And a lot of people, I think, aren't self-aware of what those things are. And that's why I feel like it was important for me after my breakup was to start to discover shit about myself. That's why I had to go win. Like that's how I process.
Yeah.
Trauma's trauma, right? Like I say trauma's trauma because your brain is processing it. It's the same fucking chemicals. Trauma's trauma. However, how we process it is entirely different.
Yeah.
That's what makes our individual journeys so beautiful. And it's so like unique.
Yeah.
It's because we each have a story of how we process this trauma. And getting wins though, me and you can relate. Not just because it's gym, but because I say I got to win after, my breakup and my lowest of low days. You say, I got to win too. Man, you got wins? You call them wins too?
Yeah.
No fucking way. I call them wins. Like, that's so fucking important.
No. I mean, like, I say no in the sense of, like, that was...
Right. No. I heard you.
No, yeah. I mean, like, that's perfect. This is to go back to one of the things you were saying. You're, like, taking me time and processing. I think one of the, like, when I look back at, where I failed in like the relationship or where I could have been better, so much of it revolves around me not taking the time to process and learn about myself.
Wow.
Like
that's a thing to say, man.
No,
that's a thing to admit though, like that you didn't know. I'm gonna grab a beer. Keep talking though.
Yeah. No, I literally did not. I was always the type of person to just like bury shit, and I was good at it. It's like even physically, like I'll ignore an injury, emotionally, and like religion was a big part of this for me. Like for years, I just didn't want to touch the subject. Like after I like split with the church, kind of like split with my parents, I just didn't want to talk about it. I just wanted to put it in like its own little box. I'm just gonna let it like fester over there. But then like post the breakup, I'd never lived alone. You know, like I walk in at night, I shut the door, and like I don't have to talk to anybody if I don't want to.
Right.
And so all of a sudden I'm like left alone with my thoughts and like processing like, you know, where did I go wrong? Where did the relationship go wrong? Was it just like flawed from the beginning? You know, should I have like
just cursed? Am I cursed?
No,
What's
should
going?
I have cut ties? You know,
Right.
3 months in, why didn't I see the signal?
All the questions.
You know,
all the questions.
All the questions. And so I think you have one set of questions that's like specific to the relationship, and then I really dove into the set of questions that relates to like me as a person, and that's where like that concept of like wins started coming out. You know, like when you start, like, I think one of the best things you can do as a human being is to figure out what you want, figure out what you need. You know, like,
damn, that's deep.
No, it's literally.
But
like,
it's simple.
Like what do I fucking want? You know, like I want to be able to travel. You know, like I want to have like a good body image.
Yeah.
Like I want to be able to experience music. Like I want to like be able to provide for like my friends and family and like be a resource like whenever's like those are the things I want. You know, and like, you know, like I've started like making this list of like what are the things I need. Like I need to like not feel guilty ever. Like I need to live a life and where I don't feel guilt, and whether that's like, you know I did my job at work. I know I took care of myself physically. I know that like, you know, I'm there for like the people around me. Like guilt is like something I don't ever want to experience.
Right.
But like you start making this list of the things you know about yourself and the things you've discovered about yourself, and you start holding yourself accountable to that shit. But if you're not willing to like dive in and be like, all right, like I'm gonna sit here and like get to the bottom of what I fucking need out of life, and then I'm gonna hold myself accountable to that.
Not enough people take the time. I was talking to somebody, my friend Christina, I think she came on the podcast, and I was like, not enough people take time and after the breakup to go into the mirror and then take a look at themselves. Like not just like in a like real go find a physical mirror, but like internally look at your goddamn self. And when you see something, is your mirror cracked inside? Right? Do you got some self-improvement to do? Because you can always blame the other person. You can always say, well, they did this and they did that and it's their fault this didn't work and da-da-da. But when you start to, hey, turn the mirror, it's facing the wall right now. We start to turn it on yourself and be like, is the mirror broken or am I broken? You know what I mean? Like,
and it's, I think even better, like it's not always if they were right or you were wrong. Like you can both be right, you know, like you can both be right for you. And I think that's one of the things I took away is like, I just like completely stopped playing the blame game of like, oh, this was either me or her. And instead I just started focusing on like, these are the things that like, I know that I need to change.
Well, and I even take this too, cause I'd like to be and I like that. That's what are the things I need to change, because I found that out in a different way, but I go to this thought first is, my daddy has a saying, and it's kind of a very common saying, but he talks about it with friends, and I've sort of adapted this for dating relationships. He says, you got friends that come in your reason for, three different type of friends. Friends for a reason, friends for a season, friends for a lifetime.
Yeah.
You can apply that to dating and relationships. You've got relationships for a reason, relationships for a season, relationships for a lifetime. We're all striving for the one for the lifetime, right? But a lot of the ones that come into our life are the ones that are for a reason and are for a season.
Yeah.
And when you start to look at it that way, there's a certain beauty. Like, I don't mean to get all like philosophical, but there is a certain beauty that's like, damn, they came into my life and I learned this. Had they not,
if nothing else,
I know something more about me after this.
Yeah.
Isn't there? It's kind of like
I had this thought yesterday. I was like, if for no other reason than this time that I've spent alone, like this time that I have, like, I've changed my life in a lot of really good ways since like the breakup. I have. And I'm like, if for no other reason, I think the breakup was worth it.
It's great. Yeah.
I really do, because we were in this, or I won't speak for her. Like I was in this like space within our relationship. Like it wasn't great. Like I like avoided coming home, you know, like I avoided the house when I could, you know, it was just like, and like, rather than like having that conversation, which I think when you've been in a relationship for 6 years and you know that there's like some things that you like would want to talk about, that's a scary thing because you're like, I might just like self-destruct this like entire thing. So I just like practice avoidance rather than, you know, actually
being direct with the
which looking back, I don't think I'll ever do that again. I'd rather be direct and like blow it up for the right reasons than just let it like
fester like a blister.
But I was thinking this yesterday. I was like, you know what? If for no other reason than like all the self-improvement and all the things I've learned about myself, it was like that breakup is one of the best things that's ever happened.
Yes.
You know, even for all the bullshit, even for all the low lows, like that breakup is still like it's a like a paradigm shift,
right?
For what I needed at that point.
And I think there's I'm gonna tell a funny story.
Okay.
About how
because we've been pretty serious here for a moment. Like, you know, like,
hey, we just got real on these people.
Levity has entered the chat. So
a new player has emerged. But I had this thought, like when I started doing the podcast, right? Like very, very when I started taking this a little bit more serious. And doing like, I'm going to do Unfiltered Bachelor. I'm going to change everything up and da-da-da. So I started having people on. Like I used to do the podcast. I mean, I still do it weekly, but I was doing it like 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah. And this is like a free therapy session, to be quite honest. Like if
plug in. If you have healthcare and it supports it, like go to fucking therapy. I don't care like how like masculine you are. Like if you don't no, go to therapy.
Yeah. Yeah, I've that's a different conversation, but yeah, I've definitely looked into. But I also say like without this though, like this is free therapy. Like having conversations like this that you can go back on, and you can listen to yourself and be like, I thought like that, huh? Or oh, that was me, huh? Or I was going through this then, huh? It's recorded therapy sessions, basically what this podcast is. But I discovered pretty early on exactly what you were talking about, like very early on, that like this was probably the best thing, and like I'm such a better person, and yada yada. It was so funny too, because imagine, it's one thing to describe it to yourself, it's another thing to describe that to your friend. Imagine having to describe it to your ex-girlfriend's new boyfriend. I'll tell you a funny story.
I'm ready.
My birthday last year, we did 3 different things. We went to the park. We had
what park?
The park.
Zilker?
The park, the restaurant, the bar.
Oh, I thought you were talking like a physical landmark,
just a place that has alcohol.
Garden.
It does got trees in the small garden. It just also has food and alcohol. It's called the park. You ever been to the park?
Never.
Oh, dude, we gotta go. Fucking, we'll go one day. So it's a bar restaurant. And they stay open till 2. Like, so if you're ever on the mall and you're like, what am I gonna do? It's 2:00. I'll tell you what. You can go over there, and they're open till 2, and they'll give you some drinks. Of course, it costs money, but I went there for birthday, like early birthday dinner. We had some drinks. Then I had 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock planned? Yeah, I think it was 9 to 11. 9 to 11 planned karaoke at Highball. And then place I used to frequent, I'm starting to frequent again. I stopped frequenting it because they did football and I don't watch football, and there's a whole bunch of football people there at Oak. There's a sports bar on South First, built into, what is that, the tree, the tree apartments, a little bar right beneath called Oak. And so the plan was,
Pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so the plan was park, get some food in you, let's go karaoke, and we're gonna after party at Oak. And I had this all set up. We get there, get to Oak, it's the end of the night, everybody's having a fucking great time, we're all toasted, and we've been singing our little hearts out, and I've did my Backstreet Boys number, so I'm feeling great. Yeah, you do, as long as
Backstreet Boy, like which classic?
I always do, As Long As You Love Me.
Oh wow.
Yeah, as long as, I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you did, as long as you love me. Like,
I'm gonna speak to you.
So we get there, walking around, get our drinks, whatever, go to the bathroom, and then I come out of the as I'm coming out of the bathroom, I'm like hearing like all this talk, like it's louder than normal. It's in like the hallway where the bathroom is. I'm like, who the fuck's having a party like right outside the bathroom? This is lame, dude. What are they doing? And I come out, I see my two cousins, my buddy Ricardo, my ex is there. And I'm like, what in the fuck, dude? Like, she's like, oh, hey, how you doing? Happy birthday. And I was like, hi, howdy. Like, Hope you're doing good. Like, what in the flying fuck? So then we're all accumulated. We're all like in one central part of the bar. We're on like the little L part, right when you walk in. There's a little short part, and there's the big long part of the bar. We're on this side, and then as I go back, I start looking around the bar, and I realize the group of people that was there. That's my ex, her new boyfriend, and all their friends. So they're having their party, and I'm having my party, and it's all under the same roof. I've never seen her there. Of all nights, of all times, of all places.
I hate this.
Of all places. Of all the gin joints in all the places in all the world.
Gin joints in all the towns.
In all the world. You walked into mine. Fuck you. And this is not in a good way.
Right?
So, God, classic. That's my favorite movie, actually.
Casablanca?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I mean, just that line in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like,
Humphrey Bogart, man. There's nobody better.
Like that line, like, I feel like is the ultimate pickup line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like cold open, you know, meet you again.
Right. Of all the,
like, it'll be my goal next year.
Of all the gin joints in all the towns in all the world, she walked into mine.
Right.
Oh, God. Play it again for me, Sam. Alexa, tell Sam to play for me again. But so I'm there and I look around and I say, I'm like, what in the fuck? So now, a little bit later, I'm like, I gotta go pee again. I have to walk through that crowd of people to go pee. I have to walk through them people. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, fuck, man. I'm like, maybe if I just walk fast enough, like, they won't even notice. So I'm like, I go through, make my way.
But like, why does this dude have a burlap sack on his face?
It's like, mind your business. So I make my way through, and all of a sudden I hear Blake. And like, I'm like, if it's my friends, they know I'm fucking going pee, they can wait. I didn't recognize a voice. So I'm walking, and I have somebody like taps me on my shoulder. I turn around. It's her new boyfriend.
I feel like there's so many ways this could have gone bad.
And as I turn around too, I look and I see him. He's like, "Hey, man," but he had a friendly look on his face. But as he was rushing after me, as I looked behind him, all of my friends saw him coming after me. All of his friends saw my friends coming after him. And like now the whole bar is
to rumble.
Now the whole bar is like literally like 5 feet behind him. Like, what is about to happen? And he's like, "Hey, man, like, I just wanted to see if we could chat real quick, you know, whatever. And I was like,
woo.
Yeah, he's like, I just wanted to clear some things up and whatever. I was like, I was so confused. I was in my alcohol. I was not expecting this. And I was just like,
that's a bold strategy.
Also had, let's see if it pays off. I also had to go pee like nobody's business. I was holding it because I didn't want to walk through that crowd of people. So I'm like, yeah, man, sure. Like, let me go pee, man. Like, I'm going to go pee. I'll grab my beer. We can have a chat outside. Okay, cool. So I go pee, grab my beer, come back. I'm like, yeah, man, let's chat outside. I gotta smoke anyways. So we chat outside, man. And he wants to know like two things. I think I'm getting a little too in the weeds of the story. He just wants to know two things. One, are we cool? Two, why me and my ex broke up? So what I'm about to say touches.
He didn't know.
I mean, he wants to know why it didn't work out. He's like, you seem like a great guy. Like, she talks great about you. She said you're great with Maddie, who was her daughter. You're great. I just don't understand how it didn't work out. And I'm like, this is where you're talking about like things could not have gone any better for you. Like when you start to realize like this is actually all worked out for the best. Having to tell that to her new boyfriend, saying, actually, man, I'm living my best life now. Like,
I'm living my best life.
Living my best life. Yeah. But having to tell that to somebody who, one, is not really your friend.
Yeah.
It's it's your ex's new guy, your new boo. But I'm telling him this thing of like, dude, I'm like, once we broke up, man, I am now in the best place of my life. I have an amazing job. I just got a promotion. Like, I'm getting ready to get a new car. Like, I have my own place, my podcast, like dating a relationship. Like, I am like connecting with people I never would have had we not gone through the breakup. I'm now like in better shape than I was. And I showed him that picture and like, I'm like, bro, like when I'm telling you, like,
you're like, I brought receipts.
Right. I brought the tea. To spill the tea, I brought the tea, bitch. But it was one of those things where
I'm just like picturing you like gradually getting like louder and more charismatic as you're like making your PowerPoint presentation about how good your life is. You know, like,
there's a TV outside. I'm like, if you see slide number 3,
can you click forward, please? You know, like
thank you. It's exactly like that.
Next slide.
But I wanted to do all this because like it's one thing for you if this situation were to happen, you'd be like, oh man, you know, I'm doing so good, you know, like I'm living all the things. But if it's another thing to be like, listen, man, like, I don't know another way to convince you. I'm not here to convince you. I don't care if you believe me, but I am telling you, like, I have now accepted that we weren't in a good place.
Yeah.
It didn't work for a reason. And because of that, I'm actually in one of the best places in my life that I never would have been had we not gone through the breakup. So I'm not saying my intent when we got together was to be in a breakup, but actually, like, this is one of the best things that could have happened to me, man.
Yeah, take the good. Like,
yes.
I mean, what's the old phrase? Like, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. You know, like
Don't what?
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Don't lick.
Come on, all right. Like we're gonna.
No. I didn't hear you.
Don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
What's
like old, like it's like
okay.
an old phrase. It's like if you get a fucking gift, like don't try to like over-examine that shit.
Right.
You know. And
I gotcha.
I feel like that's what people do. It's like I'm gonna say 2 things. I feel like we idolize the past.
Interesting.
You
okay.
know, like where we're like, oh, like,
that's an interesting word. Idolize.
Idealize.
You know, like,
yeah. You were in a relationship for 5.5 years. Like I would imagine that outside of some of the like traumatic things, like most of the things you think about are like the spikes, like the good moments.
Right.
You see the highs and the lows. You know, like you don't remember those like
in between times.
Those 25 days in March where you just like didn't want to be at the house. You know, because it was like not a great vibe,
right?
You know, but you do remember that time in Denver, and then that time at like
Albuquerque, wherever the fuck, yeah.
Place.
Yeah.
You know, like those are the things you remember, and so you like you remember the good times, which is just human nature. I feel like, and you'll remember the bad, but when you get to that place and like you've moved on and you've got all these great things, I think like you know, one of the things I'm trying to like get to the bottom of right now is like. Am I idealizing, you know, like what those 6 years look like?
Mm-hmm.
Am I being honest with myself about like the positives that have come,
mm-hmm.
you know, the positives that I have in my life right now? Or am I like idealizing like, you know, the shit that was like past?
How you find the answer?
Introspection at that point, you know, like just be honest with yourself and be like, just because I feel something doesn't mean it's right. Like there's like
interesting.
There was a pause right there.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer and like I'm very pragmatic, but emotions will lie to you. Like
explain, keep going. I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm here with you, but I want to see where you're taking this.
I mean, like
because I feel like there's some hidden gems in here that we're about to get to.
I don't think it's hidden. I just think that like. We talk about like you know neural pathways,
yeah,
like habits,
yeah.
You know, like the brain kind of tries to consolidate information and like make sense of it all.
Yes,
you know.
Yes,
and so whether it's like through like pop culture or like your kind of like fairy tale hopes, you know, and endings, like I feel like with relationships, a lot of times we idealize them. You know, and like there were like those points that made us feel good, that made us like feel warm and accepted and
mm-hmm.
blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll kind of transition. This is the best way to sum it up. So in the podcast that I've mentioned, Just Break Up.
Yeah.
One of my favorite points that they bring up is that we come out of our relationships and we always think if I could have just got 100% of them. If I could have just given 100% of myself, you know, we think like
we didn't do that.
I could have been better. They could have been better. It could have been this way. And the reality is what they gave is what they had to give. And what I gave is what I had to give at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it didn't work out for a reason, you know, like I was only given 60% of probably what I'm capable of. She was maybe giving 60, 70, 80, 40% of what she's capable of. But that is what we were capable
of giving each other
at that time.
Yeah.
And so we can't look back and think like coulda, shoulda, woulda. Like the past is binary. It's zeros and ones.
Wow.
You know, and so like just because like the past, like I look back at the relationship and there are parts of it that make me feel good, you know, or there are parts of it that don't. Like, I also think there's like some like
there's Decepticons right there. There's some deception right there.
I mean, like, if there are any women on the podcast that are going to be listening to this, like,
Decepticon.
This guy's such a fucking dick, you know? Like, but it's like.
No. I think I see what you're saying though. It just sounds very, it just, yeah, like you said, it's ones and twos. It's binary. It's this or ones and zeros. Yeah, I'm a fucking computer. I fucking work in engineering. I should fucking know this. But yeah, it's very black and white. There's little room, no room for gray. And I see kind of what you're saying. Like it's, I don't think the past is a bad thing, but it can be deceptive if you rely on it as like a certain, I think if you rely just on like looking at certain aspects of it, the roadmap becomes deceptive.
All right, so I finally found a way to synthesize.
Let's do it.
What I'm trying to say. All right, if you're doing the gym right, it fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Like I went on a 6-mile run yesterday, you know, and like at no point in a run outside of like a little bit of the runner's high are you just like, this is like, you know, the best. You know, it sucks, you know, like you're struggling for air, like my abs are hurting. I lifted 2 days previous. My right knee is like kind of wonky. Like at no point during the run am I like, this is the best feeling I've ever felt in my life.
Okay.
But at the same time, a run is fucking good for me. Like going to the gym is good for me.
Yes.
You know, and like max deadlifts suck, you know, like it's not easy. But I think we like go through life and we're like always looking for like what is easy and what feels good, and that's where I mean that's deceptive. Just because like you get like some sort of pleasurable feeling from a memory or like what happened does not always mean that it's good for you.
So I called this on the podcast. I've talked about this before, and it's really interesting how we're about to get where I'm about to say, because this is a different pathway to get there now. But it's the same. All roads lead to fucking Rome at this point. I called this comfortable companionship, and people fall for it. It's a fucking, where's the meme of Admiral Akbar? It's a trap, you know what I mean? Looking ass.
Love some Star Wars.
But it's a trap, man. It's just because it is as comfortable. This is what, I'm used to this. Or what I think, I mean, I think a lot of people fall for comfortable companionship. It's comfortable. It's the ass seat on the couch, man. It's the ass groove, and you're like, oh, okay. You never have to move from there, and you can always go, this is my spot. Yeah, I know this. What is really the thing that we need is inspirational companionship. And that is, and so it's just to make the comparison of exactly what you're saying. The comfortable companionship is, it's the 2-mile run. Yeah, I can do 2 miles. It's comfortable, and I can do this, and I'm going to be okay. It's I'm only doing 180 on the deadlift. Yeah, because I can do it. I can do like 25 of them. I'm good, right?
Yeah.
The inspirational companionship is exactly what you're talking. It's the 6-mile run. It's the, you're doing deadlifts. You're doing 3. You're doing 300. You know, you're doing 320. You've never done it before. It's the doing the new things you've never done before. Is it a little scary? Yeah, but you're inspired to even want to do that and go a little bit further. So I think, does that kind of make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And I don't want to come off as a complete asshole in the sense of like, you know, everyone starts someplace different. You know?
Yes.
Like you just don't come out of the gate and run 6 miles.
No.
Like, you know, I ran a half marathon last year. Like I've done distance before. So I'm not saying like, if you're not running 6 miles, like,
what is you doing?
You know, what are you doing? Like, that's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is like, I do feel like humans, comfortable is very easy. And you can feel good about something. Like I can go to the gym tomorrow and be like, I put out activity, you know, like I was on the treadmill for 20 minutes,
right?
You know, but like, was that optimal? Did I grow? You know,
right?
Like, did I give everything I was capable of giving? Yes, it's still a positive. But if I like,
yes, I did the minimum.
Yes, I did the minimum, and the minimum can still be a good thing, you know.
Right.
I would rather you go out and just go on a run, even if that run is like not your greatest run. Like just you going out there and doing it is still a positive thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're really focused on growth, if you're really focused on like being the best human that you can be, like comfort is not going to be your best friend.
No, you got to step out that zone.
You got to step out of the zone.
You got to be inspired to want to do more, want to do better.
I'm just saying, like, you can feel good by like doing a little bit.
Yes.
You know? But like for me, I'm focused on like feeling great.
Right.
You know? Like I'm focused on being great.
That's the zone I want to be.
That's the zone I want to be in. And so I just know that like my emotions are going to lie to me. Sometimes I'm going to feel lazy and I'm going to be like, oh, I could just go run 2 miles today. Yeah.
You're going to feel comfortable.
You're going to feel comfortable, you know? Or I could be like, all right, you know, I literally rolled dice yesterday. I told myself any number between 5, 6, or 7, that was going to be how many miles I ran. So I finally hit a 6 and I was like, all right, like I'll go out and I'll run 6 miles tonight. And like, it sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
Not fun.
It's not fun. But let me tell you, I felt fucking
right
after I finished.
I worked out yesterday. I worked out with a sauna suit and I hit the bag for an hour 10. It's not fun. I'm not telling anybody to go wear a fucking sauna suit
primal satisfaction
and work out.
After you got done,
when all my clothes are drenched.
Yeah.
I'm not telling anybody. You're hitting a bag is hard enough. Go wear a sauna suit and hit a bag. Let me know how you do. Like, right?
No,
like,
for sure. So it sucks in the moment.
Yes, God, yes.
But then, like that endorphin, like almost like aphrodisiac.
That high after
you get done, especially when you know you pushed yourself.
It's so the best.
You know? Like,
it's so the best.
Like I don't have to be the greatest in the world, but like me hitting a PR deadlift, like feels good.
When you're inspired, when you do, and I think this is great. I think we're hitting some newfound ground. When you hit that zone in a relationship, we're talking just by Jim. When you hit the zone, you date somebody, in a relationship with somebody, and you do something that's out of inspiration. Like you're like, I am so like enamored by this person. I really, really like them. I want to do something I've never done fucking before.
Yeah.
You know, and you do something surprising. You do something out of the blue romantic. You make this whole, I love this example. You've never heard the story, and I love telling the story. Those that know, I think I told this one. I always tell this, but it's a beautiful story. It's called the envelope story. Let me tell you this story. So I was dating this girl back in September, and we had been dating on and off actually since like May. And so I told her this is actually right before Labor Day. And I was like, hey, you got any plans Labor Day? Because we had the day off, you know, at work. And so she's like, no, I don't have any plans. And okay, cool. I'm like, all right, cool. I'll tell you Sunday what we're going to do. And so we talked Sunday. She's like, oh, so what are we going to do tomorrow? And I'm like, send her a picture of 3 envelopes. And I'm like, well, what's going to happen is I'm going to pick you up and you're going to open an envelope, and whatever's in the envelope, that's what we're going to do. So I wrote down 3 different ideas.
Overachiever has entered the chat.
A new player has entered. But yeah, so she came in my car, gave her 2 A, B, and C. She chose B, and it was, check this out, man. It was East 6th Adventure. I wrote on the top, East 6th Adventure. So it had go to a bar you never been to, drink a drink you wouldn't normally drink. It had all the fine.
Fuck you.
So yeah. Eat somewhere you've never eaten. Find a hipster. Find somebody with a dog. Like it held kind of like a scavenger list of like 7, 8 things, and just on East 6th. And so we did that, and I mean it worked out in my favor for 6 days. I was in a 6-day relationship with this girl, so it was great.
Well, first off.
He's like, wait a minute, that's a what?
That is not a relationship. That is an excursion. No, I think that's a great point.
But it's that inspiration, right? Like I think all that to say the inspiration.
Go for gold, like at that point, and like this is the perfect segue. So we work, both Blake and I work with a guy on our team who is a Olympic gold medalist.
Who?
Garrett.
What?
You didn't know this?
And what?
Garrett was on one of the Michael Phelps relays. He's like he holds world records. He was like Mr. Wisconsin.
Garrett? He's a swimmer?
Yeah.
He's a gold medal swimmer?
Gold medalist.
Get the fuck out of here.
Pull up your phone right now.
No, I believe you, but get the fuck out of here.
Garrett Weber Gale, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway.
Fuck me. All right.
I had lunch with Garrett like a month and a half ago. And we were just out and about. Like we grabbed a burger and we were walking back. And Garrett said something to me that is like one of the most profound things that's like affected my worldview in the last 4 months or so. But Garrett was like, I honestly look at my career as an athlete. Like I look at what I had to give, the tools I was given physically, he goes, I gave everything I had. He goes, I achieved what I was capable of. And it's true, you know, world record holder, gold medalist, etc.
You don't have to prove shit now.
Prove shit. Like, you did it, you know.
You done it, yeah.
It's like Kobe. Like, Kobe gave everything he had to fucking give.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Like, don't make me cry on the podcast. Yeah.
Oh, man.
You know, but Garrett then said something that I thought was even more profound. He's like, at this point, he goes, I'm now approaching, like, how do I be a husband and how do I be a dad in that same way.
Oh, he's a dad too?
He's a dad, yeah.
What in the fuck? I need to hang out with Garrett.
I think his son's like maybe like 2. But no, he's like, this is a guy who, like, you know, achieved everything he could achieve physically, but now he's approaching, and like, not to say that he didn't previously, but he's approaching his relationships
the same way.
In the same way.
Yeah.
And if I am going to be completely honest, like, that was like a major failing of mine, you know, like, just not, you know, being as thoughtful and as like intent, but like, it wasn't just in my relationship. I wasn't that way with my career.
In life.
I wasn't that
in
way
life, bro.
And like, that's what I've learned. And so I feel like if I'm in a relationship at any point in the future, which, like, I highly doubt, like, I don't want to go through that bullshit again. You know, quote me in 2 years.
Talk to me in 2 years.
I'll talk to you in 2 years.
And we'll have you on the podcast again.
You know. But that concept of, like, I'm going to go outside of my comfort zone, and I'm going to, like, strive for excellence, like, in every avenue of my life.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I mean when I say, like, comfort isn't everything. Like, emotions will lie to you.
Yeah. Comfort isn't everything. Emotions will lie to you. They're so Decepticon, man. I told you, Decepticons.
Yeah.
That is your emotions.
Yeah.
They peeking out and telling you all the good things.
I don't like emotions in the first place. So, you know, like, here we go.
I'm a Cancer. I love my emotions.
Yeah, I'm a Taurus. I don't even know what that means.
Right. He's like, emotions. What are those things? Never heard of them before. Yeah, man. But yeah, that's full circle with that point, man. But yeah, I think that's what a lot of us are stuck in, though, is that zone, that comfortability.
It's easy.
Comfort's so easy.
And it still feels good.
Yeah.
I mean, sitting down and having some pizza and, like, watching Netflix, like, feels good.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't mean it is.
Doesn't mean it is good. You know? Doesn't mean it's good for me. Doesn't mean it's great for me.
Right. Like your emotions.
Yeah.
Decepticons.
Fuck emotions.
All right, man. Let's take one more break, and then we'll wrap all this up in a nice, pretty bow. How about that?
I dig it.
Dude, this is so great right here, this convo, huh? Guys, we're going to take a break. You won't even notice the difference. We'll be right back.
Gucci.
With me tonight, there's a reason we're alive. I wanna find it with you. Got no oil, got no gold. Hope to find some big old road. Come and find it with me.
And we are back, and you didn't even notice the difference. Me and the T-Man talking that relationship shit.
Just in our feelings.
I'm like, Tyler, do you love me? Are you riding?
You just call me Kiki from here on out. It's
So yeah, man. So we just talked about breakups, and I feel like I feel like this has been a great conversation, just getting to know you, even though I do know you, and we've had conversations. We went down some. It's different when we're out because it's me and you talking for like a good 5 minutes, and then there's someone else who, like, hey, I want to tell you something, or then the attention sways.
Oh, for sure.
So you never get that chance to go balls deep.
Yeah,
you just kind of put the tip in.
Balls deep in intimacy right here. This is more eye contact than I've made with any human being, I think, over like the past year. Like, we're like sitting across a small table, like facing each other, and like I've stared deeply into both
my eyes
for like probably an hour and a half, which is probably more
I'm
than
okay
I've
with this.
stared into my ex's eyes over the course of like 3 months. You know, so it's like we're in there like swimwear.
We're in there like swimwear, fam. We come in like a package deal. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we've never really been able to do this. We've always put the tip in as far as conversation goes. Just we just play it right.
Pressures. Let's play a little game of just the tip.
Maybe you like it. I don't know.
Go ass out hug, you know.
It's exactly that though. Like that's the type of conversation that we have. So I'm glad we were able to dig and do this and kind of go deep. And I thought the whole, man, the breakup thing was good. I want to talk about though, this whole thing of dating at 30.
Yeah.
Dating at the dirty 30s. Hey bro, it's different. It's different, bro.
I'll jump off. Like, you know,
it's different.
I'll say that I do wish like maybe we had more people here because I'm curious to see everyone else's thoughts on this. But like I've said this and I feel like I always get mixed reactions when I talk about it. But I'm at this point, you know, like I've never been like overly emotional. You know, like my relationship with Lauren like came as a bit of a surprise. You know, like we met on the train, like things like moved quickly. You know, a year later we're living together. Like,
oh wow!
Like things like I never really had like a true relationship until her, and then it like just made sense.
How old were you?
I was 23.
That was about the age I got with my ex. I had never really had. So again, similar to you, I'd never really had I'd been in a relationship before, but it felt that one felt very puppy love. Like we were on and off twice, and we dated for like 3-4 months, and then it was just like nothing. It was my first girlfriend when I was 21. We didn't even have sex. So it's like, I mean, I guess you're in a relationship. You weren't seeing other people, but like, as an adult, when you know you have those like, hey, you got needs. Was that really a relationship? It felt like high school shit. You know what I mean? So I felt like my first relationship was the 5.5-year one.
Yeah, and I'll draw a line in the sand here. Like, I think that a true adult relationship only starts like when you live together.
Ooh,
that's how I feel.
What?
That's how I feel about it.
Really?
I just think there's a level of intimacy and a level of conflict that can only take place like until you've been so angry at a person and you fall asleep in the same bed next to them. Like
that's an interesting line to draw. I disagree, but okay.
So, I mean, you can disagree, but like, you know, I always used to say this, and then my buddies would like come back to me. They'd be like, "Oh no, we've been together for like 2 or 3 years. You know, like we practically live together. You know, blah blah blah." And then they'd move in, and like 4 months later, one of my buddies would call me and be like, "Dude, can we talk?
Hey, like, can we have a beer? Can we grab a beer, bro?"
No, yeah, literally.
That talk.
And, like, I wouldn't like be in town. Like I said, a lot of my folks are like spread out across the country.
This great nation.
And so I would like go to like a bar and like have a beer. And we just have this conversation. And they'd be like, "Dude, like everything you said, you know, it's like there's just like there's so much more. It's just more frequent." You know, like there are so many things that you can argue over, whether that's the dishes or whether that's like, you know, how you put the trash bag in the trash can, or like, you know, whether it's she wakes up at 6 and you wake up at 9, you know, like, and all of those things aren't amplified when you're apart, you know, because you're kind of like just
because you still have your own space.
You're just scheduling dates in a way. You're like, oh,
or adult sleepovers. I like adult sleep.
Yeah,
you know what? As an adult, I like me a good adult sleepover.
Great, you know.
How about you? Yeah.
I don't like when they bring their dog over, you know, but like whatever. Like, no, but when you live together, it's just
some different shit.
90% of your life is now intertwined. Sleeping habits, cleanliness, cooking, you know,
everything.
And then you get past that, like, oh, we're like practically living together, and you're actually living together. Like, I'm not a funny person. Like, I'm not. Like being like.
You're pretty funny.
It's not my skill. I have some great comedic content about what it's like to try and live with a woman. You know, like it's fucking torture at times. You know.
Yes.
So, I got like sidetracked here, but
living together
is a big deal. But after that expenditure of like effort, you know, I spent a lot of time to get to know one person, get to know her family. It was like the first time I met her mom, like it clicked for me. I was like, she's just like her mom, you know? Like she picked up all of these habits from watching her parents' relationship, you know? And I realized that about myself. It's like, I've got my dad's temper. Like I respond to like conflict like my mom, and you start realizing that you're not like your own person.
You're just a combination of characteristics
characteristics that you derived from people as you grew up.
I even want to touch on something now that you're on the subjects. I mean, we'll come back to what we were coming back to, but we're going down some rabbit holes here. But to talk about what you pick up is what you pick up from your parents and stuff. Have you ever read this book called Attached?
No.
So I'm going to lend it to you. I need to get it back from my cousin. I'm going to beat him up and take it from him. But Attached is a book where it talks about our attachment styles as adults. How it's based, though, from when we're kids.
Oh, 100%.
So there's 3 different attachment styles. There's secure attachment style. And attachment style is just the attachment style is the interpersonal relationship that we have with people. Okay. The dependency of that interpersonal relationship. So if you imagine, there's 3 different types. There's avoidant. Okay. There's anxious, and then there's a secure. So the secure is more of the people like they're secure with themselves. They're okay. They'll text you when they text you, right? I love to make the analogy of when you first meet somebody, because this is that time where you're like, hey man, you're on your own time. I'm on my own time. Like that's cool. We'll text when we can. You know, we're trying to meet up, but I'm not going to overly text you. That's a perfect example of a secure. An anxious person is one of those people like you can just tell. Because you get like 2 or 3 questions back to back, right? They hit you with those things. And you're like, it's a little weird, but okay. You know, like they are overly dependent on feeling validated. If that makes, you know what I'm saying? Like they're anxiously awaiting that validation. These are the type of people when a breakup happens, they're the clingy ones. They're like, hey, what did I do wrong? And can I do better? And da-da-da. The avoidant person is more or less the type of person when they break up, like you might not ever hear from them. Like they're going to be in their own zone.
Whew, you're preaching right now.
I felt like this was applicable to what you were talking about as a kid, because all these attachment styles are based on how you were loved by your parents. You've developed your attachment style by the time you're 5. It only amplifies. It's out there with interpersonal communication and interpersonal relationships with people. It amplifies when you're dating and in a relationship. So it's important to understand what yours is, and it's important to understand what your partner's is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love it, and I think I've definitely used it to sort of segment. Hey, this person's this person's that, and sometimes people just aren't into you, and you get it, or sometimes they are into you, and like it's something different. But it's just very important to know. Just like your love language, it's just as important to know.
For sure, you know, and those are like all very positive. But I think it's also like great to know like your significant other's triggers.
Yeah,
you know, like you need to know that.
Yes.
And like, but like when you're 22, when you're 23,
you ain't think about this shit, bro.
You're not thinking about this shit. You know, you're like, I'm attracted to you. You know,
you got a pretty booty. Yeah, let me squeeze it. I don't want nobody else to do it. Okay.
You know,
hey, bye.
But you know, and you gradually, I feel like you grow into that. You know, like
right.
If you're trying to have a committed relationship, you learn some of those things about yourself. And
yeah.
You learn some of those things about that.
And it's exactly what you're saying. You're learning about yourself.
You're learning, but like, you know, I've had this conversation. Like I said, like it's funny. All of my buddies now are like married and have kids. You know, but like, you know. Lauren and I dated for a long time, and I was actually one of the first of like my friend group to like be in like that committed live together relationship, and it didn't work out. But you know, a lot of my buddies would call me and like bounce ideas off of me. And one of the biggest things I would talk about was like, dude, like you are not your own person. You know,
far
like,
from it.
You're an amalgamation of.
Oh, that's a big word. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, fucking SAT. Sorry, like, you know, look dumb, talk smart. That's my motto. No, it's like you are a combination of, you know, your family, your upbringing. For me, like,
environment, bro.
Environment. There's all this like weird religious shit for me that like maybe another person doesn't have. Like,
I mean, I'm Catholic. I'm ex-Catholic. You see, you know, Jesus on my necklace.
Different for everyone.
Yeah.
But for me, like I said, like when I first met Lauren's mom, like it clicked. You know. What
was that feeling like when you realized like, oh,
well, you know, just like, you know,
was it mind blown? The little mind blown
you know,
emoji.
It was just like, it makes fucking sense. You know, like it just makes sense. And I feel the same way, like opposite. Like when I had that realization, I started having that realization for myself. You know, I was like, this is how my dad processes, and this is how I process. You know, I picked it up from him.
Right.
You know, and so you start to. I feel like that just makes you a more healthy, emotional being.
Adult.
You know,
More functioning.
Where you're like, okay, like there are reasons someone's going to act the way they do, and so what. A healthy relationship, which maybe you don't understand at 21, 22, 23, 27,
absolutely
35, 40, whatever, is
you may never,
but you should like dive into that shit and be like, what does that person need? What is their love language? What is their attachment style? You know, and to have conversations about that. But then to pull this like full circle back, like that feels formulaic to me. You know, I'm like, for me,
just because it has a term, man, don't be scared of it though.
Like for me, like I feel like one of my weaknesses is like I just want things to be easy.
Right.
You know, like
you feel like when it's in a box, it's not.
Yeah, or like when things are difficult, like I don't necessarily want to work on it because I'm like my dudes are my dudes. You know, like I've got people in my life that I don't have to work on our relationship. It just works.
I don't have to work for them to like me.
Yeah,
they like
have
me.
To work for them to like me. I know that like. I got people that will ride or die. Like I know that. I just know that. And then like when I have people in my life where I feel like I have to fight for like their affection or fight for their loyalty, I'm like, well maybe it's not, you know, maybe it's not meant to be.
Right.
We'll bring this full circle back to your original question though. After learning all that about myself and after learning all of that about Lauren and like another human being, I'm exhausted. And I don't know if I ever want to like have to go through that process again.
You've done the audition. I've done
the audition process once, and it was 6 years long. And I'm completely uncertain as to whether or not I want to go through that.
And that's okay, though.
Yeah.
Uncertainty is okay.
But like my joke, and like I know this alienates a lot of people, and I don't always frame it as a joke. Sometimes I just say it, and like I said earlier, I'll just softball shit out and see if you can handle it. I'm like, I'm not trying to learn some girl's favorite color again. You know, like.
God damn, Tyler.
what am I supposed to do? What was your favorite color? You know, like what's your favorite movie? Like I don't know if I have the emotional capacity at this point to have that conversation again.
I can feel that to a certain extent. So like I was with a person who had a kid. I don't know, like it felt like a divorce by the end.
Dude.
Right? Because you're separated from them, and then you're separated from another little, from a little person. Yeah. They little person, and you
invested in you. That like there's my cousin went through a divorce in a very similar situation with a kid he helped raise.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, that's different. And to touch on your point, I'm like, okay, I can feel him here because I don't ever know if I can love another little person, and then like if that's taken away. What will happen to me? You know what I mean? Like that is when it was taken away, bro. Like you have to not love another little person when you've loved a little person. Like you love them like a parent. You're not really a parent. You don't even know how to. You don't know how to be an adult.
They filled that space. Like
yes,
you like let them into that spot.
You let them into that spot, and to try and it's so like that's one of those things where it's just like. Like it's not about the other person. Like if they have a kid or it's like, they're probably great, their kid's probably great, but like you don't know. Like that for me is a real like right there. So where you were just talking about, I don't want to get to. It's simple. Yours is a little bit more simpler than mine. You're like fucking. I don't want to get to know a fucking different color. Who gives a fuck? You know, right? But it's a little bit
that just because it's got shock value.
Right. It's a little bit more silly, but it is a point. Yeah. It is a thing. Like, but it's just a simpler term of what I'm saying. Like, I don't know if I can do that again. Like, I don't know if I want to go through that motion again. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it took a lot out of me the first time. Yeah. You know, I'm still a little exhausted. I'm still trying to catch my breath. Yeah. Right? And I said undecisive. It's okay because I'm in that zone too. It's been, a lot of people talk about, it takes you half the time you're in a relationship to get over the relationship. You ever heard this? Yeah. I don't believe it, but I've heard it.
I love how you're just like, you heard of this? Yeah. I don't believe it. Okay, cool.
Complete another bullshit. Way to lead me on and just sweep the rug from under my feet. I don't believe it, but I do, you know, I am in the area where right now in my life, like I'm like in college. I'm undecided. You know, I don't know what my majors. I don't know what my major's gonna be, bruh. But It's like it's okay.
I already got burned by journalism.
Right.
Like I don't know if I want to commit to
I
finance.
can't hang out with that group of people anymore. But it is that, and it's okay. Journey of self-discovery, completely okay. And I think by our age, we learn a little bit more of like, I don't have to rush into a decision.
For sure.
Let me feel it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Does this make me happy? Okay. Does this check all the check boxes? We have a lot more check boxes now. Does this do all the things I need it to do? Is it lying to me? Am I lying to myself? Like we go through a lot more of the questions internally, bro.
All right. So.
Oh, he's got some. I see that smile. I just see the smile. What is going on?
Got something to say.
He's about to jam us.
So.
Rick Rose.
So. You were talking about like what you need, what you want, and like I know what I want right now is to not like have to expend that effort again. But I think that as you get older, like you meet people that don't expect you to be their everything. Like as you're dating or like out and about,
They don't expect you to be Jesus Christ.
They don't expect you. Like, it could be completely physical. They're like, you fulfill a purpose. Like, I need a physical relationship, and that's what you can provide.
Right.
I think at 23, you don't necessarily get that. Like,
you're like, oh, we hooked up and we're a thing. Yeah.
Like,
there's people. There are adults that don't get that now that are our age.
But there are adults like
they completely get it.
30 that get it, and they just came out of a similar situation where they're like, I'm emotionally exhausted. I just went through a divorce. Like I just
need some dick.
I just went through yeah, right? You know, like I just went through trauma, you know, and like you can have like this kind of honest conversation to where you like both fulfill
a purpose.
Yeah, you know, there's like maybe there's like, let's be super simplistic and say that there are 10 things that you need out of a relationship, and I fulfill 2 of them. You
Fine.
know? And like you're like, that's all I need right now. I only need 2 out of 10. I don't need you.
I don't need. I'm not a full checklist
you
yet.
don't have to take me to dinner.
Right.
I don't need you to meet my parents. I don't need you to like
ring the doorbell. I'll open the door.
I don't need you to like take the trash out on Tuesdays.
Right.
Like there are like so many things that they're like, you know what? You don't fulfill any of like you only fulfill 2 out of my 10, but that's enough.
That's what I need right now.
That's what I need. You know, and like
that's fucking yes. That's a fucking. Yes.
But that's what I think dating as an adult looks like. But, you know, I think it goes the opposite direction. One of my friends, you know, like she's older, but she's on her second marriage. And she, like, when she started dating the second time, she has 2 kids. Like, when she started dating the second time, she had a list of what she needed.
Pull that a little bit in front.
She had a list of what she needed out of a relationship.
Okay.
And it was hard stops. Like he has to do what he says he's going to do. Like if at any point in the dating process he like doesn't follow through on what he says he's going to do, like I'm done. You know.
Holy shit.
But like she was like
actually, hard lines.
She was looking to date again, like truly like.
She was looking to relationship again.
Looking for a relationship again.
Yeah.
So she had these hard stops, and so she like was telling this story. Like we were all out with a group, and she was like, "I met this great guy." And like we went on a few dates, and
was she already thinking marriage at that point?
She wasn't thinking marriage, but it was like
long term,
you know, like
right?
They meshed, and I think he like set plans for a night, and then like bail. Like he didn't bail, but he missed it, and then he like responded like the next day and like tried to reschedule, and
she wasn't having it.
She had this fight with herself because she liked him, and she was like, you know, like he's so great and like all of those things, but she had also made this list for herself. She was like, I will never.
Oh, not accept anything less.
I will not accept this again, and so she cut it off. Wow. You know, and so I think it goes both ways. I think you can either come out of that, and then when you decide I'm ready to date again, I'm ready to like, you know, put myself out there, then you're like, all right, you better be able to fulfill 10 out of 10 of these, or I'm done. Mm-hmm. You know. But then I think that there are also folks that are in that stage where they're like, I only need 2 out of 10.
Yeah. I've learned that in being an unfiltered bachelor. I've learned that sometimes you just, hey, we're just this. That's cool.
Yeah, 1 out of 10. I just need some.
We're just doing these couple things. Cool. I'm totally about. And you have to separate yourself from we're not a fucking item. Like, okay, maybe you're seeing other people. I don't care. You want me to do this for you? Cool. It works as well for me too. There's some adults that don't get it though.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Females and males, man.
I think that's part of being an adult, though, is like, we all need to be better about having those conversations.
Not even just having the conversation.
Front.
I think some people haven't gone through the experience or don't have either enough or any. And that is weird.
Yeah.
You're like a little child. You're a 30-year-old child.
Yeah.
Coming into a complex dating game. This is literally what it is.
Well, this is, I'll throw your own words back at you. Like, trauma's trauma, but I find myself guilty of that. Like, when, like, my buddies, like, they hadn't lived with their girlfriend, I was like, just wait,
Yeah.
Or, like, if you haven't gone through, like, a 5-year breakup or something, I'm like, just wait.
You've been there, yeah.
But it's like, I think you're right. Like, at this age, there's all spectrums of like maturity and like life experience and whatever else. But for me, I feel like the dating scene is kind of like in those 3 groups of people. You have people who have no clue what they want. You have people who know, like, I just need a percentage of like what I want.
I'm purpose driven. Yeah.
And then you have like that group of folks. It's like, you know what? I need everything.
Yeah. I'm looking for the all right now.
Everything that I want,
Right.
And maybe that's how you break it down. You're like, all right, like, I'm
on. Oh yeah. So there's people confused as fuck. There's a B, C, D person, and then there's a E who it's all of the above.
Yeah.
There's an all the above person.
All of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's a confused person taking the test. They don't even know how to write their name. There's a person who's they're just checking they just need one of the bubbles filled.
Yeah.
And then there's the.
No, I need all
the above.
Yeah, just highlighter down and just like put all the little dots. So this would be my turn to like flip the script a little bit. Like
flip it.
Off the fly, like if you have to pick one trait that is just something like if you were going to have a relationship, and that's like the thing that you need from someone, and you only get to pick one, like what's that list?
Immediately, you know what I was thinking of in my head?
What? Great sex.
This is loyalty.
Loyalty.
That literally was going in my head as you were just like that, just like the song.
Yeah.
Just like the song. Loyalty. Because, and I think it's trauma's trauma. We all go, like I say.
Yeah.
But my trauma is loyalty. Being in a 5.5 relationship, when it broke the first time, it broke the second time, and it was never the same ever.
Yeah.
So finding somebody that's just loyal, dude, like needs it. Like that prove me wrong, right? Prove me wrong, and do the things you say you're gonna do, man.
For sure.
Just be loyal to me. Like we'll figure out the rest. Maybe you're not as funny as me. We'll figure that out. We'll take you some comedy classes, right? Like,
right. Oh wow! All right, we'll work on you. Don't worry.
Don't worry about that part. We got loyalty. We can work on the rest. You know what I mean? What about you?
I think the first answer that comes to mind is just like natural happiness. Like,
what does that mean?
Like,
that's very broad.
Like,
I feel like it is.
All right, those people that just make you fucking laugh.
I'm one of them, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, like, I've got a good buddy. His name's Jerry. Like, Jerry and I are, like I wouldn't call us like best friends, but like we're those people that we always pick up right where we left off. We met each other at a fun time in life. Like Jerry is like one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. Okay. Anytime I hang out with that dude, nothing but laughs. Like, fucking ribs hurt, cheeks hurt.
I thought you were being like you had a cold sore.
No.
Why'd you point to your lip?
No. Just that natural, happiness. Like that natural kind of like giddiness. And like, I've got friends like that in my life. And I think for me, like that's, if I am going to be committed to a relationship, like it can't be academic. It can't be.
Oh yeah, I don't care if you're smart or whatever.
It's like, no, like I just need to feel you on like a visceral level. And like be just like fucking happy with you. Like you walk in the door and like you just make me happy, and vice versa. Like I want to be able to like make you happy naturally, which was,
how do you measure that though? That's hard,
it's just
right?
A feeling. It's just a vibe,
right?
It's like, no, I can't measure that, but like I'll know when I know,
right?
And like shit changes, but like, I've known Jerry for 10 years, and every time we hang out, it's the exact same thing. It's not like shit changes. We have business conversations. We have hard conversations. Like, he's gone through a divorce. Like, I've gone through the breakup. Like, he has a kid. It's like like we've gone through our shit together. But it's just like that vibe, that just like natural kind of like, fuck it, I'm happy, you know, is
You're looking for that.
That's what I'm looking for in all of my relationships for the most part, you know, and like everyone can bring different things to the table, but
At the core, that's what it has.
at the core, like I just want to feel good,
Yeah.
like naturally, and if it's not that, I'm not going to waste my time.
I mean, it sounds like the seedlings too for an inspirational relationship, but that's just me. That's just to bring that full circle.
Yeah.
But that's what that reminds me of. Yeah, man. And I think dating too at our age right now is weird because it's all the stigmas about being 30, right? Being, you know, most people our age, I feel like, and I think I talked to somebody about this. There's like a combination. They have kids.
Okay.
They have a house, or they have like, I don't know, kids' house, or they're married. That's what it is. Kids' house, married. They're
None of those.
They're one of the three. Usually, people our age have one of the three.
I'm none of the three.
I'm none of the three. Don't worry about it. We're in the same boat together. But I'm saying,
I'm a fucking blast, though.
I'm a good time. Okay.
I'm a great time.
I'm a good time. Shut the fuck. I'm a good person.
Right.
But no, that's look on your fucking Facebook feed, bro. Like this, I'm not just making this shit up. Like people our age, like they're like the stigma is you have probably one of those three. You probably either have a house, you have kids, or you're married.
I would disagree.
I wouldn't. Okay.
In Austin, in DC, in New York, etc. Like I feel like that age is like more like closer to like 35, 37.
Bro, I can pull up my feed right now and you'll see like I'm like that person's married, that person's married. They're my age. Like this person has a house, this person has kids. Like one of those three seems to be like statistically you're gonna have one of those three by our age.
And like I mean like
or a combination
I'll
of
have
two.
A house. Like I don't consider like I'll have a house in like the next year or so. Like,
Right.
I mean like I don't like
I mean, yeah, just you know, that has the house thing's not a big deal. Like that's none of it's a big deal. Like I think what I'm trying to say is, as I point to that is almost the yardstick that 30-year-olds are measured by. That like they're the outside looking in, like you don't have one of these things. You're not.
Oh, for sure.
You know, your family looks at you with this measuring stick.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to get at to.
You're also Mexican, so like that. Like,
Super, yeah,
you know, that's
super
Mexican.
Mexican.
That's a little different.
Yeah,
No,
like
I
it's.
I feel you though. I grew up in the Midwest, like barefoot and pregnant. Like all my friends were like married, very young, have kids, have a house. Like I stay at their guest bedroom. Like when I go back home. You know, and like I'm the outlier for sure.
Right.
You know,
you're the statistical anomaly, and you're like, but actually, you go on dating apps, and you're like, there's people like me.
Oh, 100%.
There are people like it doesn't. I think I kind of like that because you can meet people in real life, but you don't know anybody's thing. But like you meet people on apps, and you're like, you're just like me, huh? There are people like me. It makes me feel a little less lonely in the world. I mean, it's that whole stigma thing, man, of like you've got it, your family they want you like this, right? I get it all the time, bro. Like, oh, you're still single, you're still dating, or mijo, and my grandma for sure, mijo. And I'm never gonna see I'm never gonna see grandkids. I'm never gonna see them. I don't know, like the great grandkids. I'm never gonna. I'm like, okay.
¿Cómo se dice great grandkids in español?
She Spanglishes it up. She always just says great grandkids. So I don't know the Spanish way to say that. So, but it's one of those things, man. Like I'm supposed to live up to this. I'm like, grandma, if you want me to go get some girl pregnant, I can do that. Like, I know I've practiced sex. Like I know how this works. Like, but like that's obviously not what you want. Like I know what you mean. You want me to be with somebody. You want me to have kids already. But like it's different nowadays.
Well, so let's dive into that though. Like I think that, you know, I didn't process as quickly as I should have, but you know, I'll bring this up and I won't apologize for it. Like just the way I grew up in religion and like how that like affected kind of like, you know, for me, there was a very large split in my life around 2021 when I like left the church and like, you know, all of that process.
Yeah.
But I don't think I processed as well as I should have until here recently, where I finally just came to the conclusion, you know, it's like, I know what I want. I know what I need. Mm-hmm. It doesn't involve like doing things for my parents. It doesn't involve doing my things for other people. You know, like I know what I need out of life. And yeah, there are going to be people that are maybe disappointed by that, but I'm like, that's on them. That's not on me.
It's your expectations.
And so grandma, like, I love you. I really do. And I'll do anything I can to make you happy. I'll fly back home and like spend a few weeks for you, like, with you, like after your birthday, and like do all the things that you do, like as an adult, as someone who like cares about your family. But like, I've just gotten so much better over the last bit about like, I know what I need, and I'm not going to take your expectations to my grave.
Right. And I think that's a generation of what we're all learning to do, to be quite honest. Like people our age who are in our position, still dating, they don't have any kids, they're not married, they don't have their own house yet. They're still trying to figure out what the fuck. They're on their own journey of self-discovery. And it shouldn't be held to like some sort of standard that's like, you need to be one of these things. But that's what families do. It's social. So I call this social pressures, right? Because the friends that you have that are married, you have friends like that are married or that have kids or whatever, and you have and hit all these things, doing all these things. Then you have your family. You have these social pressures that say by this age you should be doing this, or you're weird if you don't. You're like, what are you, some sort of heathen? You know what I mean? Like, but that's,
yes, I am.
Yes. First of all, yes. Jot that down.
The answer is yes.
But it's almost like taboo, right? Like it's a little like, oh, you're still out there fucking around?
All right, I'm not.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
I'm not high, but this is like, this like feels like a very high conversation. But like, that is their expectation and their insecurity in my mind. I think that's one of the things that I've learned is that people want you to live life the same way that they live in it. Yeah, because it validates them. That when I live life differently, it makes you question.
Right.
And
it makes you feel uncomfortable. Like, bitch, it's my life.
This with my buddies, who like ask me why. Like, why have you lived in so many cities? Why have you lived this way? Why have you made these decisions? And I know that they're asking that because they made a decision that locked them into a long-term plan that looks very different than
yours.
Yeah.
And
I have buddies who legit call me and are like, "So tell me what you did this weekend."
Because they want to live vicarious.
They're living like vicariously.
Bro, that's my podcast.
Yeah, I know. And so for like every person who's maybe judging you in a way, I feel like a lot of times that judgment comes from fear. And I apologize to everyone who doesn't want to hear this, but like I'll take this back like to a religious, kind of connotation. That is one of the biggest things to me that I've learned and kind of like realized about, why folks react the way they do religiously is like, they don't want to think that they've made that like sacrifice or that life decision in vain, and by you not doing the same thing as them, it like fucks with their worldview, and so the same thing can be said for relationships, for every person that, it's like searching for the white picket fence, they want to have kids, they want to get married young, they want to like, do whatever their thing is. I would say that if they're, there's a possibility that if they're judging you or like pressuring you, it's because of fear more so than it is like they're concerned for you.
Fear rather than concern.
Fear rather than concern.
Interesting.
Does that
they use concern as a mask, like to mask over fear. Like it's comes across as concern, like, oh, they're concerned, but really they're like, I'm afraid of what you're doing because that's not what I do.
Maybe it's not even fear. Maybe it's jealousy, and like it goes both ways. Like I look at some of my friends, and they like have their cute little house in the suburbs and like they like live their cute lives and it's like maybe like more stable than mine is, and like there's like, I'm not going to say jealousy, but like I can see the benefits of that. But then I look at my life and I'm like, I know that like I can't even have a dog right now. Like I'm not
at that place.
I'm not ready to have kids. And like what I am ready to do is travel, have a great time, be around great people, focus on my career. Like I've got options. I feel really damn good about where I'm at right now. And so if you don't like it, I can respect that. But I'm not going to take that home with me. Like right. I'm done taking like your concern home
to the bank. Yeah,
home with me.
Yeah. Damn. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Your expectations aren't mine.
Yeah.
I'm living my own life.
The only person that matters at the end of the day, the only person that like I can control on the face of this planet is me.
Is you, yeah.
I can't control Blake. I can't control my mom. I can't control my little brother. God knows, because I wish I could. Like I'm trying to help that little dude, But it's like the only person on this planet I have any control over is me. That's it. So that's what I'm gonna control for.
Damn. I think that's a good place to end, though. I like that. I think that's a good takeaway from this podcast is, yeah, you can't and nobody can control what they do. And especially at this age where we're dating.
Yeah.
Nobody can control, like, you're your own controller. And it's up to you, like, what you take in as, like, in your environment, man, like, as a variable into your environment. If you take in that, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be, so I'm supposed to be married, I'm supposed to have kids, then you go have kids, or you go get married, and then it's unhappy.
But do it on your terms.
Do it on your terms, is what, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because you do it, and you do it too soon, and you're unhappy, and like, the fuck, and then you get married, and you get divorced 2 years later, like,
yeah.
Because you're not happy. Because then we're gonna go back a couple steps. Because you in the comfortable ass seat in the couch. You in the comfortable companionship phase. Because it's comfortable. Because the world wants it to be like that. Not because you want it to be like that. Or
she, or he, or
whatever's you into. You know, whatever you're into.
No,
yeah.
Like, and I will say, like, that's my takeaway, and like what I feel like I've learned from the breakup is, like, I've spent like the last like 7 or 8 months, you know, through the high highs and the low lows, like focusing on like what is it that I want, what is it that I need. And like that has like come full circle. Like I've brought that mindset with my parents. I've brought that mindset with my friends. I've brought that mindset for me on a daily level, like walking into work or walking into the gym. And like, I don't think that there's anything better that's come out of like the breakup than me realizing like, I got to take care of me. I can't take care of anybody else until I take care of me.
And I think that's one thing that people, I wish just people in general focused on, right? Like they go out dating and they broken. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You ain't even focused on you. How the fuck you trying to be with somebody else? You ain't even know the fuck you are.
Like, and then like there are also people that are trying to fix other folks when you're broken. Like, no, you got to fix your damn self.
Right.
Like, and I've been guilty of that. So, like,
but it all goes back to like the mirror thing, right? Like you're looking in the mirror. Is the mirror broken? Is you broken? And sometimes you got to go fix yourself, but you have to know. And if you don't take the time to be self-aware and look at yourself, you don't really know. And if you don't
you're just going to do the same thing with another person.
Right. And if you don't go, I think if you don't go through, anybody can go through breakup and anybody can go be back with somebody else. I think it takes unique individuals, and I think it takes a certain sense of self-awareness to, when you go through a breakup, to, am I going to be better after this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like anybody can just go through. Anybody can relationship hop, like it's hopscotch. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can do that. But taking time for you, like you can control you to make you better, so that way the next person you are trying to be with, you can be with them because you're better.
Yeah.
You attract. You go back. It goes back to you attract
what you're ready for.
It all goes back to that, man.
Be fucking better.
Bro, we just full circled this whole thing. We just encapsulated this.
Pull those threads.
Oh, I love it. Tyler, man, this has been fun, bro. We need to do this again. I want to do this again.
I'm down.
This would be, I feel like we could answer the world's questions on this podcast, bro. We could like find some dating questions on Reddit. We'll answer some questions.
I think it'd be great to do this with like multiple perspectives, you know, like
a big group
guys,
of people,
girls, you know, folks who've been in relationships, folks who haven't. Just because like,
I want to do that one day.
I want that like devil's advocate. Like I want everybody to have their own perspective, because like I feel like we have some very similar kind of viewpoints. But I'd be really interested to hear someone be like, Tyler, like, you know, you're just an asshole. Like,
right. Shut. I think you just want to be told you're an asshole.
No, I'm cool with that though. Like I'm fine with people just being like, Tyler, like, dude, like I disagree. I'm like, all right, tell me why. You know, like let's go. Let's hash this out.
In the words of Backstreet Boys, tell me why. I digress. But yeah, I think that's eventually what I want to do, man. I'd want to have like, I want to do this somewhere where we can get like 10 people.
Yeah.
7 people. Fuck it. 5 people. Fuck it.
For sure.
But like, boom, boom, bouncing ideas. What do you think about that? What do you think about it? Because it's fun.
Yeah.
This is fun. If somebody were here, we had a live audience, they would have probably cheered and laughed, and they would have cried with us. You know, like they would have felt all the feels. And hopefully people out there, if you're listening, you've gone on an emotional journey with me and Tyler. Tyler, where can people find you on social media, man? Do you want to shout yourself out? I know you're pretty hefty on Instagram at least, though.
I have like 7 followers on Instagram.
We need to get. Hey, you've got to get them numbers up, them rookie numbers.
So if you want to follow me on the
shout your handle.
Yeah, so it's T_Braswell, BRASSWELL. If you want to be one of those people like, dude, you're an asshole, just shoot me a DM. I'm cool with it.
Nice. So. Everybody follow Tyler on fucking Instagram. It's great. I'll for sure tag you when I post this up. Follow Unfiltered Bachelor, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Follow the show, Unfiltered Bachelor, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere podcasts are. That's where we are. You can follow me, Money Blakeweather, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I'm on all the things, man. Hey, I'm out there. If you see Tyler on a dating app, hey, why don't you go ahead and swipe and say hi?
Odds are I won't even see it. I don't give a shit.
I don't even care. Tyler's been fun, man. Everybody, I hope you've had a fun time listening to us just kind of ramble on and shoot some ideas out about.
Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, I'm so glad that you came on. Thank you so much. And for everybody out there, I hope you have a good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. And until the next time, we'll see you.
Gucci.
Peace.
Bright city lights, they drew